Thank you all for coming. I'd like to call this meeting of the Richland County Board of Supervisors to order at 6:05 PM on Tuesday, August 18th, 2026 at the banquet room of the Phoenix Center in Richland Center. Clerk Harrison, would you call the roll?
Carroll. Miller.
Here.
Schoonover. Present. Kramer.
Here.
McKee. Here. Engel. Meyer. Here. Welty.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Nolan. Harry. Here. Collins Johnston.
Here.
Turk. Here. Goldsmith Pietra. Frank. Yes. Severson.
Present.
Williamson.
Present.
Cooey.
Here.
Smith.
Present.
McElvain.
Here.
McGuire.
Here.
We have a forum.
Thank you, Clerk Harrison. Is there anybody here from the clergy for our invocation? Sure, go ahead. Everybody please stand.
Looking around the room, I realize that there's going to be discussion tonight, and from the book of Proverbs, the 28th book, the 11th verse, or the 28th chapter, 11th verse, it says, "A rich man may be wise in his own eyes, but a poor man who has discernment sees through him." I think that tonight we need to pray for that. So Lord, I pray that you will make us poor enough that we may find wisdom in your words, and Lord, help us to keep cool eyes, cool ears, cool hearts, that we may express concerns, we listen to others, we may show respect to each other, and that your will be done. Lord, be with us in this room, that we may always look for your will in these things. Be with us always. I pray this in your name. Amen.
Will you please stay standing and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? The flag is over here to your left, the corner. Will Supervisor Kramer lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Supervisors, we're on agenda item number 6, which is approve our agenda. We do have a 22-point agenda. Is there a motion? Motion by Supervisor McKee to approve our agenda, seconded by Supervisor Welty. All those in favor of our agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 7 is approve the minutes of our July 21st, 2026 meeting. Any additions or corrections to those minutes? Supervisor Collins Johnston.
Tony Shannon Sharp should be Jody Shannon Sharp.
So there's a correction, Mr. Clerk. That should be Tony.
Got
Joni. Be Joan. Motion would be appropriate to accept the amended minutes. Motion by Supervisor Kramer, seconded by Supervisor Meyer. For the amended minutes of our last July 21st, 2026 meeting. Any further discussion on those minutes or that amendment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 8. So we do have public comment tonight, and there are a lot of people. I just would like to remind the public that according to our board rules 4.07B, that we do allow public comment. I will go through and read our 7 points. Any person who wishes to address the county board during the public comment portion of the agenda must provide their name and address prior to the comments, which they all have on this here. A commenter may not speak longer than 3 minutes and may only speak once per the meeting. All comments must be germane to an item. Comments should be directed to the board as a whole and not to address to any other board members, and board members are not able to respond. I would encourage you to be courteous with your language and avoid personal remarks and refrain from comments that are rude, obscene, and profane. And I do have the right to terminate and end your speech if I do feel that it is out of line and not appropriate for our context here. So I'm going to start out with our first public comment is Ed Book from Sand Hill Drive in the town of Aiken.
Thank you.
Supervisor McGuire.
I'd like to remind everybody, this is not our normal sound system here. And what you have to say is important to us, okay? So we want to miss it. So please use your cheerleader voices, even though there's a microphone there. This is not the same system that we have over kids, okay?
Supervisor McGuire would like you to use your outside voices on the NFL.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to provide some comment today. I'm here to provide comment on item 11, which is the resolution seeking additional information on the KVA line. I'm here to support that resolution. I think it's a great first step. But what I want to say is that it's really only a first step. As you can see from all the people here, people are really interested in this. I think anytime in the future where either this or a data center on your agenda, you may want to do this at the high school or a bigger room. But anyway, I have 3 things for consideration for the board because again, this is a first step. And the first thing is for consideration is you get that initial information. This should not be an expedited process. There should be no variances granted, no waivers, nothing like that. Whatever they need to follow, they need to follow. They need to do every environmental study, every wetland delineation, every archaeological survey that they're required to do. No waivers. Second of all, I would urge the board to consider some ordinances to control what goes in the construction phase and in the implementation phase. That would be things like a noise ordinance, so that if this does get constructed, it's not going to affect all of us here. Second, setbacks. If there's not a county ordinance already for setbacks for this sort of construction, that should be considered. And then third, hours of construction, that should be limited as well. So again, it's not impacting the residences. These companies like to have certainty. And so the earlier that gets done in the process, they know how to plan for these things. And they know that what we want is what the board's going to adopt. And we control the process rather than having them control the process. And then the third item I would urge the board to consider is the reason why this is being constructed probably, and that is that it's not simply to get power from point A to point B. It's like water that can be dammed and diverted. The biggest user of electricity right now are data centers. And so I really urge the board to pass a moratorium on data centers, because that would help control then the need for this sort of construction. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Ed, for your comments. I am going next in the line. I don't have them as I received them. I just picked them up from the back. If there's any more public comments that's in the back, you can bring them up here and I will still honor those. Right now, I'm going to call on Mr. Paul Peckham. He's willing to. Paul, I believe, lives in the town of Richland.
Correct.
All right.
I'm here tonight, but the point that I wanted to make on this is probably a rather minor point to most people, but if you are a pilot, it's not. These, towers and airplanes don't mix. I have an airstrip up in the Rockbridge Township. It's not the proposed tower route, the northern route does not, I don't enjoy it, but it's close enough that it would give me a certain amount of angst if I was landing or taking off. The only other point on that is if you look closely, I think it's one of the southern routes, goes very close, and I mean close to the Sextonville Airport. It's just north of the Sextonville Airport. And I know the FAA, if your tower exceeds 200 feet, The FAA is going to require, information from you. But, like I said, I don't, an airplane's taking off at Sextonville, if they would take off to the north, which many of them do, that's the way the runway points, they're gonna be flying right over that sucker. Not great. Anyhow, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. Before we move on to our next person, just a reminder that we do have a 3-minute time frame. It is up here on the screen, so be mindful of that. Brenda Wanacke from Ithaca Township. Would you wish to speak? Brendan's making his way down here right now from here on the side.
Hello, my name is Brendan. First, I'd like to thank all of those that are bringing people together with information and these common goals. I'm here to oppose putting in 765 kilovolt lines through the driftless or anywhere else, especially outside of state statute pre-existing corridors. Just before I came here today, I was watching some YouTube videos from Texas. The playbook down there was the same. Rushing through projects that are not wanted or needed simply for a guaranteed return on investment. The maps were the same that we see. To me, it seems that they propose multiple routes and pick a path of least resistance. We need to stand up to these large-scale projects, which include automatic license plate readers, data centers, and these lines. I am calling for transparency and accountability of all those involved in these decisions. Here is my ask. Provide online, publicly accessible communication logs, which are live updated to include the name and position of any public official and project counterpoint, including subcontractors. The method of communication, including linked notes, and the results, decisions, and scheduled next steps of those meetings. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brendan, for your comments. Isabella Castaneda? Isabella's gonna make her way down, and just letting you know that we are keeping notes right now of your comments. The administrator is keeping notes, and we do have this meeting being recorded, so we can go back and listen to your comments also.
Hi, I'm a landowner in the Rockbridge and Richland Townships. I applaud that you will be approving the information request resolution, as I understand it, and that is great. But we also need to keep moving on top of this. We are late in the game. I was at the DeSoto meeting yesterday. It was very well attended. It was so nice to see bipartisan opposition to these lines. There were lawmakers. They had different ideas of what to do about it, but they were all opposing the line. What they have done there is that they have the first tranche of this line, which is the Maribel line. In Crawford and Vernon County, the landowners there have formed a coalition and gotten a lawyer to file a lawsuit in Vernon County. And it's set to have a hearing in October. This will hopefully stop this before it goes to the PSC. I'm proposing that Richland join up with other counties on the Becky line. We are 9 counties that are going to be affected by this other part of the line. And get together, landowners, get together and file a lawsuit to try to stop this. Now, I know the board is very busy, and I am not asking you to do more work. We will roll up our sleeves. I know there's enough opposition here that we will find enough people to work on this. We just need your support when we need your support, and we need you to work with us. If this goes through, this is gonna be destroying the driftless area, a unique area in this country. Not only is the landscape gonna be ruined forever, our water, the aquifers below, to put in those pylons where these huge towers are just gonna hit ground, and they're gonna be pouring cement and diverting water, and who knows what environmental disaster we're gonna have. These people are just interested in minimizing cost. So, I'm almost running out of time. We will lose tourism, we will lose landowners because nobody wants to look at these towers. We will lose those taxes from those landowners. And this line will be obsolete in a few years because this transmission line will transfer renewable energy from the west to Illinois. And that is not enough energy to satisfy the data centers that they're trying to supply to. These data centers are gonna have to build their own power plants next to them, and it's probably gonna be nuclear because nothing else would satisfy the need. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabella. Senator Kieski? Senator Kieski just wants to speak a little bit right now, and then I'm offering the floor to her later on in our agenda. Speak more in depth to this issue.
So my name is Sarah Kieski. I am a senator for District 14. Can I talk this way or do I have to talk to you? Sorry.
You can talk however you would like to talk. I prefer you to talk to your constituents. Talk to your constituent, and I'm okay with that.
So I represent all of Sauk County, all of Richland County, the northern part of Dade, most of Columbia, some of Adams, some of Juneau, and a small little township in Vernon County. Every single one of my counties is being affected by this line. I have tried to learn as much as I can, and I have to say I am overwhelmed by what is happening, the speed at which it's happening, and all the different entities that are involved. And I'm not sure who exactly is pulling all the strings, but it sure is happening quickly. And it has not been something that has been easy to get information about for my office. I asked to meet with this group, MGS, the multi-continent grid system. Continent, thank you. Grid system. When I first heard about this, which was back at a meeting, I'm sorry, okay. They did not have access for me to have information until I got to meet with them on July 28th. So that was just a few weeks ago. And I had been trying. At that meeting, I learned about as much as the top level. I've tried to go deeper. What I learned at that meeting was that they were going to have meetings. They didn't have the dates yet, and there was not a website that I could access yet. That happened at the beginning of August. And since then, I've been doing my due diligence, trying to learn as much as I can and share as much as I can. This line will also be in my viewpoint, in my township. I live in Lodi, if it goes through that area. So I can't want it to not go through mine because then it might go through somebody else's, right? That's not fair. So I'm trying to stay as neutral and informed and share with you what I can. Tonight, I learned about this meeting literally about 4:30, drove from Lodi to be here because I was hoping there was going to be a showing of a lot of people interested, and holy buckets, you are showing up, and I'm so proud of you because this is what it's going to take. You getting your voices heard letting me know what I need to know, but there are limitations about, I'm learning about what I have the power to do, which I can share later, and you can ask me questions on. I'm happy to be as transparent as possible. I have nothing to hide. I have lots to learn. So please share with me tonight as you're talking. I will be taking notes over there. I want to know what I can know. I want to help where I can help. And whatever is useful for me to do on your behalf, I am a public servant. That's what I believe my role to be. That is why I'm here. That is why I'm listening. And please reach out, inform me in whatever way you feel is most helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kieski. Next, I'm going to call on Mr. Martin Richards from the town of Ithaca. He's also our tourism director for Richland County. Not government, but as a whole.
3 minutes, ouch. So I guess first off, Dan, can you hear me? You can hear me? Okay. I don't think anyone here needs convincing of the harmful effects of where people stand. I've talked to everybody I could talk to in the last, since I knew about this probably 8 days ago. And I've yet to find somebody that even said, well, I think it's okay. The proposed mid-continent grid solutions, 765K line, it's destructive. And it's really an ignorant proposal as it exists today. Because if anybody looks at the map and understands the area, it's obvious these lines were drawn on a tabletop. It was not even thought of looking at the geology and the geography of the area. For centuries, the Driftless area landscape has existed untouched, and now a faceless organization from somewhere else wants to come through and desecrate our rolling hills, streams, and scenic valleys of the Driftless area. And what's the benefit? For what benefit? This will literally have zero benefit to anyone in southwestern Wisconsin. It really will benefit its financial gain to stockholders who see a huge profit opportunity in the transmission line. And those are the key words, a transmission line. Sorry, I'm gonna steal here. Because the rest of this really is for everybody here. It's a huge profit opportunity. Think of your neighbor showing up and putting an extension cord through your living room from their house to the neighbor's house. That's literally what this is. The line is not for the benefit of serving landholders in southwest Wisconsin. It's for somebody else. And then you have to ask who's the somebody else. And I won't draw that conclusion because it could be as far as the East Coast. To the county board, I'm going to ask that you accelerate your actions opposing this proposal. A resolution opposed that you consider an ordinance banning the construction of 765 kilovolt lines. And I understand there's questions if that's enforcement, okay? However, it very much communicates the residents' wishes, and it will cause delays and barriers that they'll have to deal with, and at least sends that message. Then I also ask that you directly work with other counties affected and work together on that. Together, multiple counties in the state work better as a voice that's much louder than just one. And then finally, to everybody here, you need to contact your legislators. I thank Senator Kieski for being here. I know you're conscientious on most all things that do affect the folks in this area. It's not time for us to expect somebody else to step in and help. This is our fight to fight. On Monday, May 24th, go to the open house. Ask questions, remain civil, get as much information on the project as possible, keep a record of who you talked to and what they said. Express your opposition to the line. They do need to know that you oppose it, but be civil. After the open house, continue to support the efforts, communicate the opposition to the companies involved and your legislators. When the Public Service Commission assigns the case number to it, you will again need to continue to share that opposition directly to them. You keep telling the story until it is stopped. It's going to be a long and hard fight. And a couple of the companies involved, Transource Energy LLC and Berkshire Hathaway Energy, have a lot of resources, but they found a subject that unites us all.
Yeah.
I even had two Bear fans tell me they agreed with me. But in all seriousness, we are going to need to stay at this and unify up with other counties, other individuals. There are a lot of people, not just in Richland County, that are bothered by this, and it would be horribly destructive to our area.
Thank you, Mr. Richards, for your speech. Marty and I are friends. Steve Welty, from the town of Ithaca. He used to make longbows, Death Wish longbows.
I'm glad to see this many people here because I wasn't sure what the turnout would be. So in my research on what I have found on this, and I was shocked Wednesday night when I found out from a friend that this was going to happen. I was a little disappointed that some people knew about this months ago, but it's been kind of hush, hush, hush everywhere. So I went home and I did a lot of research because my first reaction was, how do I exit Richland County? Most of us live here for a reason. We could live other places if we wanted to. Every time I take a vacation, I can't wait to get back. I wasn't born here. I wasn't raised as a kid here. I was born in the armpit. The armpit is where this transmission line's supposed to end up going to, Illinois. That is the end result of my research. At least that's where it's technically headed to at this point. Other things that need to be considered is Wisconsin residents have to pay for this. Who benefits? Another state. We're not dropping lines off of this to go to Chautauqua or other places, any place in Wisconsin. That's not Wisconsin, but we're not dropping lines to go to other places. It's all going to go to out of state. Nothing staying in state. We're going to pay for it. My research showed that every resident will pay approximately an additional $28 on their electric bill to pay for this. And it's not even going to benefit us. The problem is, as my dad always said, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. By the time this thing's put in and it's turned on, it won't be $28. It'll be far and substantially higher than that. For what? It's going to cost every one of us. It doesn't matter if it goes on your property, whether you pay or not. Somebody that lives on Hazeltine Street's going to pay. Not going on his property. Because everybody has to pay. And it's not right. The other thing is, if you live within a quarter mile of a 765, you will be compromised in health. Children especially. Studies go back as far as 1979, that these power lines will increase leukemia in children. You want that on your plate, then vote for this. If you don't want it on your plate, and I'm sure you don't, you gotta try to keep it out of here. Remember that quarter mile. And don't believe what the power companies are going to tell you. Another thing, and I only got a few seconds here. Research also showed that this is actually basically a new power company formed by other power companies, and there's probably a reason behind this. that the other power companies don't want their name on this. So do some research. YouTube is a great place to find more information than you want to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, for your comments. I think I encourage you to keep meeting with your friends on Wednesday night and talk about this subject, so it's at the top of people's minds. Miss Colleen Eulenhank from Town of Willow. Colleen, she's coming over here.
Good evening. Public speaking is not my forte and I'm quite nervous, so bear with me.
I am too.
I don't want to talk about so much like my land and how it affects me, other than the fact that I've run 2 adult family homes for people with disabilities off the little Willow. And if those lines go up my valley, people with autism and seizure disorders who are very sensitive to those types of things, I'm probably looking at having to close my business because I probably wouldn't bother to open anywhere else. I talked to my county supervisor yesterday, and I got to be honest with you that I was rather depressed after that conversation. I felt that the board, at least the things he was saying to me, is there's nothing we can do about it. There's no legislative way to stop it, eminent domain. This is a town board responsibility first and foremost. And I agree with everybody else that this is not just a town board. It's not just a county board. It's everybody. It's the citizens. It's everybody. He also told me about how you had already sent a letter to this company asking for further information in March. And that after 3 or 4 months, somebody followed up on that letter, and it turns out they denied ever receiving it. So of course, my first comment was, well, how did you deliver it? These people are not going to be trustworthy. They're not going to be honest with us. And I would suggest that any further correspondence are done via certified mail, so we can't be told that there's nothing we can do about it or that we don't know about it. There's a total lack of transparency there. I think we need to work collaboratively with other counties, with all the townships, with people that live in town and out of town. People have talked about joining other counties, but imagine my disappointment in reading Vernon County notes, how they had approached Richland County on getting on board with them, and how this county had declined to be part of that venture. I guess my thought about that is, I was wondering who made that decision and as to why that was done. The other important thing is, I think, environmental impact studies. I looked at the Public Service Commission website, and I saw that there's been a lot of studies done in the surrounding counties. Nothing's been done yet here. Nothing's been done in Sauk. Nothing that needs to be done because of the kind of environment, the geological area that we're in. And I'm out of time, but the other thing I did say to my supervisor is, I hope that this being a poor county, that this organization isn't shape a big check in your faces trying to bribe people, and encourage you to support them. And I'm also aware that they've gone to other areas and have had NDAs signed by local governments, and I hope we don't see that here.
Thank you, Ms. Eulenhank. What she was talking about, NDA, means non-disclosure agreements. I just want to let everybody know, especially people online, that we are here at a public forum. We do have a door open over there towards the main entrance of the Phoenix Center, and the other door is closed. However, it's still unlockable. So if anybody wants to come in, please allow them to be in here. So next up on my list, I do have Miss Janet Johnson from Eagle and Dayton Township.
God, there's a lot of people here.
Okay, thank you, County Board. I appreciate you foreseeing the need to get a larger room this time. And thank you for your attention to this matter. For Richland County residents, you have been snake bitten and gut punched and by this transmission line proposal. This is a very emotional time. Can you hear me? This is a very emotional time. I ask that you keep your cool. Go to the open house next week. Keep your cool. And there will be people, there was some handouts to kind of help you through the morning, okay? Remain focused, stay positive. This is not a done deal, okay? I would ask, I just want to say this starts at the bottom. This starts with our townships, with us. This is all of us. It starts with us. We have moved on from our townships. Most of our townships are in the process of opposing, if not already opposed, but they will oppose it soon. From there, it goes to all of you, our county. I would ask that you all stand behind all of us and help us in our fight for our land. From there, it goes to our state legislator. And I would ask that our state legislators do everything to help their people. I would ask that we look at a comprehensive energy reform plan and work across the aisle to get that done. We have got to find a balance here between both sides. This is about us. This is nonpartisan. This is our land. If that means we have to write new bills, if that means we have to come back to work, to write new legislation, we need to do that. And quite frankly, I'm getting tired of getting letters that say, you can't do anything because you are in a far better position to do that sort of thing than we are. We need you to hold the developers accountable for what they are doing. They are not following the state statutes and how they're going about this. They've also shortened the public relations phase to 7 months from 3 to 4 years almost. Okay, so now there's no way we can go out and get sensitivities in our backyard and take the whippoorwills or whatever that's, singing back there because our season is almost over. They are rushing this through for a reason, and we need to stop them in whatever way we can. And the other thing that we could be changing is the rules for eminent domain. It's somehow, it's still one party's fault. I don't know how it happened, but we need to change it. And we need to start working together to get it done, because if it doesn't happen, we are broken. We are broken. We need to fix it. And it starts here and it works out. And from there, we have to have some transparency from the federal level. If these things are happening, we need a good reason why. I've been working on this for months and I still can't wrap my brain around why this is happening. We need transparency from all sides. Other than that, this is not a done deal. Thank you.
Mr. Douglas Stewart on Willow. Rockridge, sorry, your Rockridge Town Supervisor. Maybe that.
Doug Dorr from Rockbridge Township, the supervisor. A lot of things have been mentioned here tonight that I will follow up on, but my concern as being a supervisor for a township, and we should look at it as a county, if this thing passes, what's it going to do to our infrastructure, our roads, our landscape? And if who's going to repair those? Who's going to take the responsibility to put those roads back? I can tell you that the roads in Rockbridge Township are not signed for $100,000 vehicles. And I don't think the county's any better off. The other thing that I want to talk about is the problems that these are supported with. And I've heard numerous stories, anywhere from 10-foot square to 40-foot deep to whatever. Richland County is a unique area in the United States. We have limestone water filtration. You start punching holes in these limestone caverns and stuff, what's it going to do to the water table? Our Class A trout streams will no longer be in effect. And the next thing is, they say it's gonna benefit us. I was an electrician for 50 years, and I don't think any of our substations in this county or townships can hook up to this 765 without a whole bunch of major transformer rebuilding. So it's not gonna benefit us. It's just a song and a dance that they're telling us it'll benefit you. We're fed with a lot lower voltage is what they're proposing, so I don't know how they're gonna benefit us. So take this to your legislatures, don't give up. We live in a pristine area of this part of the country, and I want to keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gore. Maybe you and, Mr. Welty and possibly Mr. Clarkson could talk on Wednesday nights or something and kind of hash out a good plan for us to move forward. That'd be great. Next on our agenda is Mr. James and Susan Davidson.
I'm here to talk about how Jim and I are gonna be affected by this line. We just recently found out that this line may very well go right through our property diagonally. Jim is 83 and has a bad heart. And I don't want him near these lines. My age, we'll leave that alone. But, you know, we have a dream to come to Richland County and build a beautiful home on 80 acres. We've been thrilled, and now this line may go directly through our front 40, from one side of the 40 to the other side of the 40, diagonally between our house and our mailbox, which is going to send my land value is going to tank at a time when Jim and I invested in this county in hopes that if we had to someday go to a nursing home, we would have the means to do so. We won't have those means if these lines go through. And I'm literally not kidding. It's going between our mailbox and our house. And it's ridiculous. And I have one more thing to say, and I am going to get political. I hope you will not be influenced by Travis Tranel or Tom Tiffany, because neither one, if you look at their voting records, have ever done anything for the taxpayers in this state. And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, for your comments. Ms. Connie Champneys. Richwood Township?
No, Aiken.
Aiken? Good.
Thank you for having this meeting tonight. My name is Connie Champneys. I live in Aiken Township. We are potentially affected We are potentially affected landowners in Aiken Township. We are requesting the county board adopt a resolution to protest the development of the 765 high voltage power lines. The destruction of land in the driftless should be stopped. The driftless is ancient terrain. The land wasn't exposed by glaciers. It was never covered. This is not horizontal land. It is a vertical ecosystem. Water disappears and reappears. The driftless is built on fractured limestone and sandstone, creating a hidden underground plumbing system. Water sinks into the ground, travels through rock layers, and reemerges as springs and trout streams. Disturbing this ecosystem will impact our groundwater and streams. The driftless still feels raw, almost untamed and alive. This land is one of the most geologically unique regions in the country. We should do everything in our power to preserve and protect this land. The 765 high voltage power lines do not belong in the driftless. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Public, please feel free to come and go as you please during public comment and during our county board meeting. Next up on our public comment is Mr. Lee Van Landite. He was a former county board supervisor for Richland County. And he was a former school board member for the Richland School District too.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I got a question of everybody. How many billionaires do we have in here? Any billionaires? We have any multi-millionaires? Yes. And, I'm from Henrietta Township. None of this is one of the poorest counties in the state. We've got elderly here. But we do have one of the best areas. It was pristine, as you had said. There were so many excellent comments that were made. I totally agree with. And living up in Henrietta, that line will not affect me. But in living in this area and knowing this area.
Are these just totals?
Yes, they are. And so what happens is there's some bills that come in between after those meetings occur. And then council, so some of them have to be reviewed, but they'll be reviewed. So there's a large portion of them that will go to Public Works on Thursday night this week. But they're all included in this. There's have to be paid.
Okay, so those totals are, is that correct?
One.
Government?
Yeah, that's what has.
Sorry for all that.
What was that?
Yeah. This was a open mic on one of our people that were listening online.
Big brother looking over us. Anyways, the reason I asked if anybody had loads of money, we don't. And the people that do have loads of money are doing this project to us. And we are going to have to pay. Now, they talked about politics earlier. We got Republicans and Democrats that are fighting each other when we should be fighting the guys with the money that make us poor. So much in common that we need to get together and do these things. I think there were an awful lot of good suggestions that were made that we need to follow up as a county board, even though you're small peanuts in the big picture, you're important. And I think Sarah Kieski, thank you for being here. We have a good senator in Sarah that will speak to the other legislators on our behalf. We need to keep up on this. We need to understand what's going on. I know very little about this, but they talked about the anchoring things. I had read that they have to be 50 feet deep. And if they go down 50 feet into this kind of geology, it's going to, we're on well water. There's nobody here that does not have well water. It will affect well water. And so we're going to suffer. So a few people are going to get ultra rich and the rest of us are going to be poor because we're going to pay for this. And we don't benefit at all from them. And if they sell, we do it, it's a lie. So we need to restrict them in as many ways as possible and keep them from going through this. There's other power sources. We got a president that has, we had on the Atlantic coast wind turbines that would generate an awful lot of power. The French were putting it in. The French were paid $1 billion+ not to do the project. So there's a lot of things going on that we need to be aware of. We need to make sure that we're understanding these things and that we protect ourselves. So we as a group, this is very important. We're here together. We're in this together. We need to fight together, and big money cannot take these things from us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee. I guess just a reminder to everybody that, I guess I'm gonna introduce myself because I didn't, and I'm just thinking about this now. So I'm Kerry Severson. I'm the county board chair, and to my immediate left here, we do have Administrator Tricia Clements. Our corporation counsel, Nathan Russell, and his colleague, also up here. Next on our public comment list is Cindy Deckert.
I'm Cindy Deckert. I live near the Ash Creek Forest out in Oregon. And I want to just mention that, because we're out there frequently, we see a lot of people using that Ash Creek Forest, including out-of-state license plates. And I know you can't go by the decals on the car, but we see a lot of decals from different towns. So we know that's being used. We knew there'd be a large crowd tonight, so we came and we had a meal here at the Phoenix Center. I'm sure you all know that their burgers are locally sourced by the Richland Locker. I like to eat. How about any of you? Raise your hands if you like to eat. Had a meal today or yesterday or plan on eating tomorrow. Okay. Who do we have to thank for that? Our farmers. We need to support these farmers, not having a 765 line going through their farmland, or they're going to give up farming. And then what are we going to eat? So we're kind of stagnant in our population growth here. We know that. But so we need something to raise money. It's our tourism. I can't imagine anyone sitting around a kitchen table planning their vacation going, gee, I'd like to go to Richland County to see that 765 line, hear the hum, and see those lights flashing. You represent us. I assume you like Richland County, or you wouldn't be representing us. You want to see us prosper. And what is there not to like about Richland County? We've got the creeks, the trout streams, the canoe rivers, the pristine wooded hillsides, our farm fields that feed us and the rest of the nation, the quiet of the countryside without the hum of the 765 line, the wildlife. All this is going to be negatively impacted. If the 765 line is here, it is here forever. We can never go back.
Thank you, Cindy, for your comments. Next on our list, and it is our last public comment. This person has to speak on agenda item number 12, which is a resolution approving comprehensive facility improvement plan. I also know that he may have some comments on agenda item number 11, which most of you have spoken on. So Mr. Alan Lins, would you?
Good evening, supervisors. My name is Alan Lenz. I'm speaking on agenda item number 12. I serve as president of the Simons Recreation Complex Foundation. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes to speak with you tonight. I want to offer a gentle and sincere request for your support of the HVAC replacement project at Simons Recreation Complex. The need for a new HVAC system has been clearly identified since 2020. For 6 years now, this project has appeared in reports, discussions, and planning documents. During that time, the best efforts possible have been made to keep the current system functioning, but it is well past its intended lifespan. The longer we wait, the more we risk damage to the building itself. Humidity, corrosion, and structural strain are not abstract concerns. They are real, and they grow much more serious each year. I also want to acknowledge the intergovernmental agreement that the City of Richland Center adopted about a year ago. Under that agreement, the city is not required to contribute to capital improvements assignments. Their obligation is limited to operating expenses. I also want to remind you of the financial information shared by Carol Worth. She's the county's financial advisor. She indicated that the entire bonding package before you tonight would add roughly 10 cents for the mill rate. The HVAC portion for Simons represents a little over 1 penny of that amount. 1 penny. I ask you kindly, isn't Simons worth a penny? Isn't a safe, healthy, structurally sound recreation center worth that level of investment from the thousands of people who use it each year? Finally, I know that there have been conversations about the long-term future of Simons and whether ownership might someday be transferred to another entity. If it ever becomes a real possibility, the condition of the building will matter greatly. Facilities with major deferred maintenance, especially systems critical to HVAC, will be far less attractive to any potential partner. Addressing this need now strengthens Simons, strengthens the county's position, and preserves future options. Supervisors, Simons is a place where children learn to swim, where seniors exercise safely, where families gather, and where our immediate community and people from our local region, and as Mike Hardy's pointed out, has welcomed visitors from across the United States and around the world. It has served Richland County for decades and deserves to remain strong for decades more. Tonight, I simply and sincerely ask for your support of the HVAC replacement. Thank you for your time, your service to Richland County, and your thoughtful consideration. And I have no more comments on 765 line.
Understood. Thank you. Did receive a couple extra comments from Mr. Adset, but they are for a couple other people. So I'm gonna go with Mr. Mark Rongold.
I would like to speak to the people who are in the topic. Call, it takes a couple minutes to call every elected official in your area. I've tried dozens of times. You may not get an answer. You may not talk to a live person, but at least you make the call. If a couple hundred people made a call a day, that swamps their line. And I've only gotten a couple live people to talk to, which really pays off. And it's well worth talking to them, tell them how you feel, because we go to all elected officials in the position. They need to listen to us, at least what we have to say, opposed or for. Hopefully there's no one out there for this. But, and as for the elected officials here, you're here because of us. And your decisions made in Richland County will either make you a hero or a zero.
Yeah.
I mean it, because we're only here, none of us are gonna live through all of this. We're all gonna go someday. And what we leave to our children and grandchildren will be hopefully a wonderful legacy for Richland County. And as a great conservationist, Doug Durham would say, it's not our turn. It's not ours, it's just our turn. It's our turn to be here and make it right, Richland County.
I might not say this last name right, but Chris and Dean Stola?
Hi folks, I'm Chris Stola. So, just want one brief thing to be stated. I just came back to the county for 27 years and relocated to my family's 4th generation farm. This line is going through, in our little block, I call it in my head, 3 4th generation farms. Our ancestors in this county, I'm not talking about just my farm, right? Everybody, we did not steward this land for generations and leave it to families for generations on how to steward it for this crap to happen. It's that simple. I also want to push on conservation. I've become a plant nerd. I know that she can attest to that. I started a YouTube channel showing some of our unique things like probably I'm having arborists come up Friday to look at our butternuts. A very rare plant that is waiting identification and nibblers. So this is my attack on those people. That's the best I can do with what I have, but I also encourage you to go get to know your land again. I don't think we all do. You can get black walnuts or maybe butternuts, folks. Go look. I have a bag in the car if you want one. That's all I got.
Aaron, I see you moved from over here to there. You want to talk or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so Darren Mott from Town of Dayton.
I guess I'm not really a public speaker, but I work for the city of Richland Center. I'm an electrical lineman. I've been on projects, at the 345 line. And I work in town on 12470. This goes right through my 100-acre field right behind my house. In these pamphlets, they don't talk about stray voltage. That's why they're not going by any large confinement livestock facilities or anything like that. They're not talking about induction. I don't know if anybody knows anything about induction here. Basically, if you run the lines with a pickup truck, when we had to drive from tower to tower, you'd have a grounding strap in order to get out of the truck without being shocked. That was on 345, so this is twice the size of that. I've never been on a project that big. The only ones I've ever seen is in Indiana, so they're pretty big, sound like a TV static.
every time I've been around them. The swamp this will take out basically 100 acres that I'll never be able to build a house on for generations. I mean, this isn't just for 50 years, this is forever. You know, this whole swath, you'll never be able to build a house on, ever. Everything that's not grounded or isolated will have a shock hazard. Guess that's all I got. I don't know if anybody knew that, so.
Thank you, Darren. Sarah, you can go ahead with your comments. Sarah Hunt, Town Dayton.
Hi, I just wanted to talk for just a brief moment here. Thank you to everyone who's spoken so far and expressed how important and how damaging this could be to our area and our livelihoods and our farms, which we depend on for food and income. And those farms also contribute to taxes in our area. There are a lot of things that we still can do. The fact that these other lines were 43 to 47 months, and now the process for this is 7 months. One of the things that we can do is speak to our legislators about coming back and passing a bill so that this 7-month window can be expanded, because this is not okay. And the other thing is that the Iowa Utility Commission just passed 3 different statutes to help support their farms and their pasture land there, where they are limiting audible noise. They are limiting the electric field strength to no more than 6,000 volts per meter when measured 1 meter above the ground anywhere within the right of way. And they're prohibiting transmission structures that are supported primarily by guy wires for being constructed on crop and pasture land, unless an agreement with the landowner specifically allows such structures. And if Iowa did it, why can't we do it here?
Thank you.
We have a lot of options. We also need to look at the kind of things that we are invested in, because it's very likely that we are also helping support this unknowingly. So just take a look at what kind of things you're being invested in. All hope is not lost. There have been 17 transmission lines that have been stopped in the United States beforehand. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt. I have no other further written public comments. I will open the floor up right now for a few, not everyone, but a few comments. If somebody has something that comes to mind is willing to speak. Mr. David Anderson? Dominic, sorry.
No, it's an insult to David.
Attorney Anderson.
He's a lot nicer than I am. So here's the thing, I'm just gonna say something real quick about the structure of these organizations. There's a reason they're forming a new corporation. Because, you know, it's called the corporate veil. So when they come in and they say things aren't gonna be destroyed and they are destroyed, most people are protected. You can pierce the corporate veil, but it's not that easy to do. So there's a reason they're forming a new corporation, like somebody said, they're trying to hide because they're not very proud of what's gonna happen here. And there's a reason they're coming where there isn't anything. I mean, they need to find spots that are pristine. They need to find the few spots on Earth that aren't trampled on already, so they can make these big wide cuts and so forth. But you gotta please dig into why, you know, why they're forming these corporations, because they're protecting themselves. So when they say there's not gonna be damage to our water systems, and there is, they're gonna say, well, that was the corporate attorney, that was the corporate structure. I just live in this, you know, $70 million home off here in the island, and you know, you can't get me for that. So I just want us to be real careful and dig into why they're structuring these things the way they are. I have to admit, I haven't had time to dig into it. I just found out about this a couple of days ago, but I just noticed that people were talking about the structures, and there's a reason they protect themselves from stuff like this. So please look into it. Please do what you can do to stop this, because I'm nervous about where this is going. Thank you.
Mr. Bellman? Mr. Bob Bellman from the City of Richland Center, former County Board Supervisor.
Thank you, Chairman.
I think I've got three things down I want to mention. I got a lot more to say. Some of the talk has been wonderful that you guys are, everybody's coming up with a lot of good things. I want to say, first of all, that the fact we have a state legislature here that represents us, she really truly represents us. She's here listening. Wow. I think that's fabulous. I think it's just fabulous that you're here. Secondly, I talked to the fellow today, and he said, to me, he said, I hope we don't get this transmission line in. I said, why? He said, well, I was hunting in New Mexico, and they had them in New Mexico, and he said the ground shook underneath these. I don't want those in Richland County. And I wanted to convey that to everyone. I'm not making this up. It's true. He told me this. I'm not saying who because I don't want to, but okay. The bottom line on all this is that if this comes in, the quality of life here will be greatly diminished across the board for all of us. I live in the city, very supportive of the country issues, and I guess it's possible it could go through the city as well. I've heard stories about that. So I think we really need to fight this tooth and nail. This is very, very important. Thank you.
Couple more comments from anyone in the public? Sir, go ahead. You gonna state your name for the record, please.
My name is Mike Bradford. I live in Tonabush. This record is my court. One of the comments I've heard over and over as well, you can't do anything about this. My mother had an expression, she said, I can't never get anything. And I would challenge the county board to do something. You have the opportunity to listen to these people here tonight, act on their concerns, and do something. But being a planning resolution, that might be the first thing. I would suggest partnering with the just counties that have already decided to take action. So don't just say there, we can't do anything. I can't never do anything. Do something to listen to your constituents.
Is there anyone that is online on WebEx wanting to speak for public comment? Give a couple seconds because there is a delay in the internet. Eric, yeah. Eric C. Mano from the city of Richland Center. Watch the wires right here.
So my name is Eric C. Mendel. Been born in the area, moved away for a few years, went on west. I had one of these big holes in my backyard, my 3.5 acre property. And I'll tell you this much, when it rains or it snows, it will buzz you till no end. You can hear it. And I know most people probably haven't experienced this, but it does happen. That's all I want to say.
We're gonna close out on agenda item number 8. We're gonna move on to our further items on our agenda. So we got agenda item number 9. This is a resolution creating an ad hoc new jail committee. The Committee on Committees has met earlier this evening at 5 o'clock at the county courthouse in our county boardroom, and Committee on Committees has chosen members for that committee. Administrator Clements, would you like to? I guess, okay. She's advised me that I do that, yeah, resolution creating that hoc jail committee, so. Beth, you want to read the resolution?
Indeed, resolution 2643, and I apologize, some of you heard this. Resolution approving the creation of an ad hoc committee to develop recommendations on the construction of a new jail facility. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that it is necessary to initiate the process to construct a new jail, and now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that an ad hoc committee be created to develop recommendations regarding the planning, funding, location, design, and construction of the new facility. Be it further resolved, this resolution is effective on the time of publication, and this came from Public Safety and Judiciary.
So you've heard the resolution from the clerk. What is your pleasure, supervisors? Supervisor Welty makes a motion to approve that, seconded by Supervisor Kramer. Any discussion on the creation of a jail ad hoc committee? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of creating a jail ad hoc committee, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Now, on to agenda item number 10, which is special orders of business, appointments to various boards and committees and commissions. This is where I talked about the committee on committees has met to decide on the membership for the new jail hawk committee, which will consist of county board supervisors and one citizen member. Administrator comments, could you read those?
Yes. So the committee on committees recommended Supervisor Meyer, Supervisor Schoonover, Supervisor Frank, Supervisor Collins Johnson, and Supervisor Cooley to be appointed to the jail ad hoc committee, and the community representative would be Brian Jones.
So we have the supervisors and Brian Jones as a citizen member. Supervisor Perry. Supervisor Perry moves to approve the new committee membership. Is there a second by Mr. Supervisor Richard McKean? Any discussion on our membership that we do have? Do people need a background on Mr. Brian Jones as a citizen member, or? In my opinion, Mr. Jones was a former fire chief of Richland Center, assistant fire chief, and he has worked for the Richland School District for many years as their lead maintenance person. Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
We have
Now,
one more approval
Okay.
that we need to make for the Transportation Coordinating Committee. The Community and Health Services has recommended Lana Townsley to be appointed to the Transportation Coordinating Committee.
so you heard the administrator for appointment to the transportation, and is there a motion? The point, motion by Supervisor Cooey, seconded by Supervisor Noel. Any discussion on that appointment? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. So now we're on to agenda item number 11, which is a resolution requesting additional information on the proposed 765 kilovolt transmission line. Clerk Harrison, can you read that resolution?
Resolution 2644, information request resolution regarding BECI 765 kilovolt transmission line proposal. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Richland County Board of Supervisors hereby requests that Mid-Continent Grid Solutions Wisconsin, MGS, provides the following documentation in written electronic format no later than September 18, 2026. Number one, the list of landowners in Richland County by name, contact address that Mid-Continent Grid Solutions has provided the following documentation materials as of September 18, 2026. Number one are high digital format, high resolution to scale satellite imagery based maps for all potentially impacted land parcels with existing transmission lines portraying the following details. A, the locations of all existing transmission support poles on each parcel. B, graphic lines depicting the boundaries of the current easement on each land parcel. C, the proposed locations of all 765 kilovolt transmission towers on each land parcel. D, graphic lines depicting the boundaries of the proposed expanded easement on each land parcel. E, the proposed height in feet of each proposed 765 kilovolt transmission tower on each affected land parcel. F, two scale renderings of all tower designs with dimensions in feet being considered for each land parcel. Two, digital format, high resolution, 2-scale satellite imagery-based maps for potentially impacted land parcels without existing transmission lines portraying the following details. A, proposed locations of all 765 transmission towers on each land parcel. B, graphic lines depicting the boundaries of the proposed easement on each land parcel. C, the proposed height in feet of each proposed 765 kilovolt transmission tower on each affected land parcel. D, 2-scale renderings of all tower designs with dimensions in feet being considered for each land parcel. 2, detailed land descriptions accompanied by high-resolution 2-scale satellite imagery-based maps of the preferred route for the 765 kilovolt transmission line. 3, the criteria that will determine compensation for affected landowners whose parcels may be used for the 765 transmission line. And 4, the expected compensation in dollar amounts for each parcel that may be affected based on the criteria given above, or in the adverse unexpected compensation in dollar amounts to a tiered system based on the criteria given above. This was offered by the Natural Resources team.
Supervisors, you've heard the resolution for agenda item number 11. What's your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Perry, seconded by Supervisor Thompson. Right now, this resolution has been talked about by our Natural Resources Committee. We are following this as a county. We will continue to keep following this. We are exploring other avenues. I know that Committee Chair Schoonover is working with other parties and is following this also to keep us up to date with this. At this point in time, before we move on to further approval, I would like to turn the mic over to our Corporation Counsel, Nathan Russell, who's done some research on this for us on behalf of you, the citizens. So, Mr. Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Can you hear me? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I do want to introduce Bethany Everts, who is Everts, I'm sorry, she's going to fix that at some point. Who is our new associate who lives here in Richland Center. We work out of our office and is assisting the county throughout. So this is her. I think she was here for executive speaking, if I recall. She is now with us, so we're excited to have her. My job, we were tasked after the last board meeting to investigate if there's anything that the county can do as it relates to thwarting this proposal. The short answer is, other than passing this resolution and potentially other resolutions, there is not a lot, in my humble opinion, that you can do to stop this, short of a few things that I'll bring up here in a minute. You can pass all the resolutions that you want. Those are non-bearing resolutions generally as it relates to this. That's been one of the few things that I heard is most of the legal things that were brought up today were fairly accurate. That the way that the current statute is written, there's not a lot of wiggle room. That being said, is you can pass this resolution, you can pass other resolutions. You definitely can do that. Well, I would strongly advise you not to join into a lawsuit. A, I don't believe that the county has standing to be a part of a lawsuit, number one. Number two is that there's no history in Wisconsin of a lawsuit being successful in this type of project, whether that be for lines, whether that be for turbines or whatnot. I'm really concerned about the standing of the county. What I mean by that is, does the county have the ability to go to court and say that we are being harmed? Based on the statute, they really don't. Okay, that it was brought up by some people today that people who do are the actual property owners, potentially the townships. They would. The county, which is what I'm tasked to protect and advise, doesn't really have standing, in my humble opinion. There'll be people on the crowd and maybe members of the county board who disagree with that. You can push back on me, but don't believe it. Just look at what's the best interest of the county from a legal perspective, that you have standing. You could, as was asked by a couple different people, propose different changes to ordinance. The reason that I would advise again, well, first of all, if you decide to do that, we will be happy to defend that, and we will do so. That defense would not be covered by insurance. Okay, so the county would have to do that. Almost certainly, you will lose. Will it slow the process down? Potentially. But if you go and change ordinances, there you have, one concern is about whether it be whether other actions would be grandfathered or not, first of all. Also, I would challenge you to look at any other of the cascading effects outside of this transmission line that would be impacted by those ordinances. I haven't reviewed that. I'm not saying that there is a specific instance of that, but that's something that you'd want to consider. But more importantly, is the statutes generally don't allow you to do that. You can pass the ordinance, they will file what's called declaratory judgment against you, and we would fight that in court. Okay, that's the one thing you potentially can do to slow it down, but almost certainly it won't be successful in the long run. I have no problem defending it, but my job is to try to advise you in regards to dealing with the taxpayer dollars in the best that you can. And you may choose that that's what you want to do. That's fine. I need you to at least make sure that I'm covering my backside to tell you there's a high likelihood that that would not be successful. And so I'm not here to be the messenger of doom and gloom. I'm just telling you how we have reviewed it from a legal perspective. We have done this for other municipalities, primarily not in transmission lines, but in wind turbines. We have looked specifically at municipalities, counties trying to take stands against wind turbines, primarily in Lafayette County, but also in a couple other jurisdictions. And we told them basically the same thing that I'm telling you right now. Statutes are very similar in that regard. That being said, Mr. Chairman, that's what we have discovered. I'm happy to answer any questions from the board if you want to. Otherwise, stand by those comments.
Supervisors, do you have any questions for our council? Supervisor Kramer?
I have one. Some people talk about the change to eminent domain.
That's a statement. That's a statement.
That's the
Yeah,
statement.
most of what was by the people who, the vast majority of the comments by people that could actually impact this is going to be at the state level. It's going to, and I'm just going to be a realist. Likelihood of that changing before November is zero. Madam Senator, tell me it's different, but the fact that you have people out campaigning, you're now in the middle of August, I don't even know if there's a session between now and November. But the likelihood of that is going to be small. Realistically, the best adage, it's not me, or it's not, we wouldn't do it, we wouldn't be able to, but people individually grouping together and filing a lawsuit, that is the best option, in my humble opinion, in the near term. Eminent domain issues is going to have to be a state level issue, and good luck.
Supervisor McKee?
Is the PSC having the final say so of this?
Yes, that's my general understanding, unless the federal court or state court will make the laws.
So the PSC will either.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Okay.
Supervisor Collins Johnson?
I guess my question is, why would we not want to do this?
When you say this, I'm sorry, what do you mean by
I
that?
mean, taking a stance and doing the ordinance, doing the opposition resolution. I mean, that almost sounds like you feel that we shouldn't even take a stand on this.
I have no problem with the resolution. But if you take a stance on by passing an ordinance, you're looking at $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 in legal fees minimum. And I'm not saying that that's not income, I'm not saying that's too much or not enough. I'm just telling you, your budget is not set up for that. And if you're going to do that, like if we were to defend you, if you'd be very qualified to do that defense, it's going to be litigious. And you're going to have some of the largest law firms in the country going after it. So we're going to have 4, 5, 6, 7 attorneys from our side defending it, whether that's us or whether it's outside counsel. And if it's outside counsel, the hourly rate's going to be double or triple ours. And so that's my cautionary tale. I try not to be flippant. From a professional standpoint, I have no problem defending. I'm just telling you, there's a high likelihood of loss. And that's where you have to weigh the cost of it versus the likelihood of outcome.
Can you describe what an ordinance is versus state statute?
So our ordinance would be saying that you know, and I'm gonna try to put it as elementary as we can, is that our ordinance would say you can't do X. I think there was a couple different examples in regards to setbacks, in regards to noise, those types of things. I'll be very frank, I have not reviewed the noise statutes or how the noise ordinance would apply to the statutes here. But basically, the statutes that we're dealing with as it relates to the power line basically says that you can't trump it. Okay, you cannot supersede what's in the state law. You can go up to what the state statute says, but you can't go over it. That's really what the big issue is. Now, on the turbine side, they have tried to say some arguments in regards to health and safety. It's not quite the same that we could find in the power line statute, but that's how some people are trying to angle in on the turbines. But that's the general difference. We could pass an ordinance. They could then say, hey, either we're grandfathered in because the project's been announced and gone forward to, which we have not researched that. Or B, they're going to say it's invalid because it violates the statute. That's the more likely one that at least we see.
And I can see with the being an ordinance that if we pass that, those companies then will litigate us as a county because we passed this saying that this is obstructing and talk to a court and be like, hey, they're not following statute, they're not doing this, this is why. And then that's where Attorney Russell's got to come in and defend us at what cost to try to defend that ordinance. And he doesn't feel that that ordinance will be strong enough. I would like to have an ordinance, and I'm not going to stop you from wanting to bring one forth, but it needs to come from the Natural Resources Committee. He's just giving you an opinions for you to make a good sound judgment decision on whether that's what the path that we need to go down.
Because what they would be doing is basically filing if you pass any ordinance that is contrary to state statute, they would then file what's called a declaratory judgment, which is basically come to the court and say, Your Honor, this isn't right, this is in conflict with the state statute, it should be dismissed. And that judge would would not be a Richland County judge, would probably be a judge from around this area. Would then make a determination if that was right or wrong, and then we would decide if they went on summary judgment or if we would have to have a trial.
Why would it have to be contrary to state statute? Why couldn't we look for a loophole?
In our review of the statute, there's not, the way that it's written, there's not much of a loophole. The only thing I would say that was brought up here today that I'll probably go back with approval to research is the noise issue. That is something that we did not look at in our perusal, but that's about the only thing. At least our initial review, I think setbacks, you can't really do much. Like I said, I'll be the first one to tell you if I'm wrong, but when we reviewed it the first time, it's not there. As far as permitting, things of that nature, I know there was a talk about variances, things like that. I would agree, you don't have to do a variance I don't think that's one going to exist in this situation. But the statutes generally don't provide a ton of loopholes. I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole politics of these things, but these were written by people at certain times that had stakeholders writing them, or helping assist write them years ago, and they're fairly well written.
Supervisor, I want you to understand another thing here. Those cellular towers, that is something that the county has authority over on zoning, but it's very specific and cannot deny that. Would you opine on that, on those towers versus this electrical line and how that's different?
Well, the statutes are different, and I can't cite every part of the statutes today. Our associates did most of the research, and I didn't have him come today. But basically, the statutes are completely different. And there was a carve out for the cell towers that allows for that county to have some fair oversight. There's really not a lot, there's no oversight in regards to the statutes as relates to the power lines from a county perspective. There is some from a township. There is that from a county perspective. That's why I said at the top, I'm worried that I don't think that we have standing, and so from that perspective, that's my greatest concern.
Supervisor McKee?
Has anybody addressed the economic impact? Because if property values go down, tax revenue is going to go down.
And that's my understanding as part of the Service Commission's review Once again, I am not a specialist in the Public Service Commission. In a previous life, I wanted to work for them years and years and years and decades ago. That did not happen, luckily. So I am not an expert in that. But I believe that's part of their evaluation. I don't believe that's part of the environmental impact study, but I do believe that there is a separate economic review that's done. But that's also part of the eminent domain process too, if they end up going through eminent domain.
Supervisor Nolan?
Has a land impact study actually been done?
To my knowledge, no. But that wouldn't be something that we would do. That's not something that we would commission
As a county.
Right.
as a county. But to my knowledge, there is not.
Supervisor Welty?
The concerns that were raised around the stray voltage, is that a landowner issue rather than a county issue?
That's my belief. And once again, I want to reiterate, if you decide to do something, we'll defend it. That's fine. My job is to advise you ahead of time what I think the outcomes are going to be. But I don't believe the county has standing at this point as a straight. Well, I think very adamantly, the individual landowners could, clearly. I think if a number of individual landowners got together and banded together, that would be a great start. But I just don't believe the county has standing in this.
Supervisor Meyer?
So would the municipalities have standing?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Would the municipalities have standing?
I think there's some standing for the townships, yes.
Hand over here, Supervisor Miller?
Yes, I'd like to know, can you tell me again how much we're talking about in money?
Well, it depends. It depends if we go to trial. If we go to trial, we're starting with 6 figures. If we lose on a motion to dismiss, if you lose on summary judgment, you're probably around 25, 30, 40,000. But if you go to trial, you're probably at 6 figures. And that's assuming that our firm's the one doing it. If you do another outside firm, remember, we have contracted rates that are lower than normal. And so that's at our low rates, lower than normal. So if you go to, we have to hire outside counsel for Madison, unless they are going to give us a discount. I'm not saying there's not people who do that, but if they wouldn't give us a discount, you're looking at significantly higher rates, which would drive it.
Okay, you say 6 figures, are you talking 200,000?
I'd say 150.
And we have done outside counsel before on other subjects other than what we're talking about here. So that's not common for us to seek outside counsel. Is what does you as a board, what do you as a board want to do? And that's where it's going to come from the Natural Resources Committee to suggest to the county board, and then the county board then would have to go through to say, hey, we would like to pursue this legally. And do we want to have our corporation counsel represent us, or do we want to go with an outside firm to represent them?
Yeah, that's definitely your prerogative.
That's up to us.
Correct.
What about long-term health effect? Does that have to be very?
Yes. Okay. I just had to ask the chairman because I want to make sure I'm not opening up a can of worms by taking questions from the press. No offense. I don't believe within the statute that, well, certainly it's not been a case law that we found that has been successful up to this point. As I mentioned before, some folks who are fighting turbines in the state of Wisconsin are trying to band together and do that. I don't believe, or that hasn't been successful up to this point. And I don't believe that it's successful, it has been successful on a power line issue yet. I'm not saying it can't be. It would have to be, get the right judge at the right time, go from there. But at this point, it has not been successful.
Supervisor McGuire?
Yeah, I haven't given this a lot of thought, but maybe you need a different approach. Okay? If I'm not mistaken, BlackRock is the richest, biggest corporation in the world, and they're behind this. They're richer than the state of Wisconsin. But the only people they're not richer than is the United States of America. What I'm getting at is, we talk about the driftless area as being a special area. And maybe we could get that in there on some sort of a, with the United States as being protected. Like like an old building is protected, a 100-year-old building, I don't know. But what I'm getting at is, let's get the United States of America behind us, not people that live in this county. They don't care about us. They're not afraid of us. They're not afraid of Richland County. Not when you're worth many gazillions of billions. That's how rich they are. They're enormous. They got so much power, and they own half of America. So maybe you have to try that in. Use the driftless area with protection of the United States of America. That's my little comment in a nutshell.
Senator Kieski?
I love your thinking. That is creative. One of the things I would say is, if anybody's been paying attention, this administration has approved drilling in the boundary waters.
Supervisors, Richard, Supervisor McKee?
Yes. So this resolution be sent to the PSC and our representatives in the government. Because I can just see them coming to know that.
So I'm not here for politics. I'm here to advise you. We can send it to whomever you want, but this particular resolution is only asking for information. So it's certainly, if you decide to do a resolution that takes a stand, whether you support it, oppose it, whatever you want to, I would advise us to send it to wherever you want to based on that position. We can send this one out. I just don't know if this one has teeth, because we're still trying to find out information. We still don't know, we don't know, from that standpoint. That's why this came about last time.
And this resolution would go to Mid-Continent Grid Solutions and that Becky, the Bell Center. We're saying for them to give us information. We could send as an advisory or just a notice to our senators in our legislature that we have sent that, for them just to be aware that we have. This is gonna go to them primarily. Supervisor Kramer.
So we could basically do a resolution saying that, the county, we are against this line coming through our area, period. And that if it does, it would, degrade our property values. There is a potential health risk, and, especially for our well water and our environmental impact. It may not do us any good, but at least then we would be backing up our residents. We would be backing up our townships who could get together and do something. And it would let them know that, you know, the county board in itself is against this. And, send it to everybody, all the way up to the governor.
Some people would have to start out in the Natural Resources Committee. I would caution though, on certain aspects of that, just because how much money do we want to spend on our own study for our karst geology, our water? We gotta have that information. We just can't say that, because that company could come back and say, oh, you know what, this doesn't do this, here's our information. Well, where's our information to counter their information? And so that's where it's gonna be a little bit difficult.
Mr. Chair, all due respect, I believe the citizens of this county would pay to have our own study done to come back at them. I think we're all in agreement.
Just real quick, I'm sorry, I'm trying not to do this a lot, but there's gotta be more information on these highline wires causing health issues than there is on more recent turbine stuff. I think that there's probably been studies, some studies that have been done on this highline stuff causing more health issues than, say, the turbine stuff. So it seems like there should be some studies out there that you could gain access to detect this more like than there is in the turbine.
Thank you, Attorney Anderson. Any other supervisors got a comment? Darlene?
I have a couple of
ideas on this too, since this is overwhelmingly going to affect every household here. That we really do need to do a little, sink in our teeth a little bit on some of this, because this is going to affect everybody in this room. I've done some research on it too, as far as just even, you know, economic impact, our trout stuff, whatever, like, you know, what I'm trying to say is it's overwhelming, all the things that's going to impact everyone. We need to have a resolution that's going to have those teeth that are going to sink in and have them, you know, not just answer our questions, but give us some points of what we're fighting right now. Because right now, they can put a line anywhere they want if they're not going to follow the rules of the state. And we need to let them know that we have rules that we're supposed to be binding ourselves by, and they need to do the same, number one. And also that I was just handed some information I'm gonna look into, that the PSC just denied the ATC application in eastern Wisconsin due to a successful lawsuit by an attorney named Eric Olson. And I want to see what this person is doing so that maybe we can replicate, be able to have those points brought up. This is my home. This is my ancestral home. We've been here since before Wisconsin was even a state. And I feel like I'm steward of this land. And everyone in this room feels like we're stewards of the land here. We're using it for a time, but this is for our grandchildren and our great grandchildren that we're doing this. And that line, once it's here, doesn't go away. And the water, I just think about the water and the land. And we just need to do something. And if the power is in the townships, maybe we need to be empowering our townships to do what, you know, help them the best way we can help them by giving maybe a resolution that we're going to give them the support that they're going to need to fight this, and the individual landowners. Maybe that's where we need to put our emphasis at, is that the weight of the county is behind all of who does have standing.
Well, I hope that the township. I hope that the townships of Richland County are fired up as much as what they are right now, and willing to go to great lengths for our EMS. That they can also bring up about the 765 kilovolt line in their discussion, be as active as they are right now opposing Richland County EMS. So, any other supervisors before I take comments from the back?
I would just like to say that I gave Supervisor Schoonover an opposition resolution to look at, to consider in reference to the 765 line. So I hope that we can expedite this and not drag it through another month. Yes.
Comment?
Got a group meeting, I believe, on the 25th. Considered writing a proposal denial. Correct.
So the chairperson of the Natural Resources Committee, Supervisor Rainey Schoonover, said that there is, that they will be talking about having a resolution to bring forth of denial for the 765 line, or be in opposition to that for the county. So they are going to discuss that to bring forward to the county board.
We'll go to the executive committee.
It says it's going to go to the executive committee before the county board. In the back, I did see a couple hands. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. It's, yes.
So she's asking if the eastern half of that power line is been shot down by the Public Service Commission. How are they able to continue to move forward? and come through our area if that's been denied and that happened. It's a different line is what.
It's a different line, but it gives us an idea that there are ways that we can affect this. That's my big question is, it seems like there are other places in the country because there are maps that have been published of plans for these lines to be constituted to higher. There's a lot like in certain states that entire country. So the whole country is this in rural areas. And several places have been successfully staggered differently. So that's where the money is needed. Exactly like you're saying, we're already looking at. Yes.
I'll take a couple more citizen comments. Sir, you got your hand up?
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to follow up on that comment there. It seems like we're casting around for a strategy. And I think the resolution that's on the table right now makes sense. It's a good first step to say, let's get information. There's a deadline. So if that deadline passes, we don't get any information. Then I think the resolution of the Natural Resources Board is looking right now to reject support of this as a natural step. We ask for information, we don't get it. Therefore, the county is taking the position that we don't want this because we're not getting the information. What I would also suggest is, I appreciate the comments of council with respect to standing and answering the questions from the board. But what we need is, rather than us coming up with ideas and then getting comment back, what I would ask is that our council review some of these cases and things, come back to us with ideas for what we can do within the bounds of the law to oppose this.
Yes.
One suggestion, once again, I'm not a policymaker, but in reviewing the resolutions, I would encourage the board, if they want to pass this resolution, to modify the due date. You currently have a due date of September 18th. I think it would behoove you to have that earlier than the 15th of September.
Yes.
I think the reason for that is that if you're going to have any other types of resolutions, but you're also going to want to be taken honest or taken sincerely by the other side, you should technically give them a chance to respond. And so your next board meeting, I believe, is scheduled for the 15th. So having it due on the 14th, I think something may put you in a better place. It's just 2 cents from a non-representative.
Mr. Smith from Town of Ithaca.
I think that's the question. We keep talking about Richland County not having enough money, and it's been talked to this, that we needed this to be a more unified thing. You saw more in like Soto Township, they're really unified, really standing together. If we're gonna do a lawsuit, can we not do something that is more unified within the counties? So we do have more resources, we can pull from more areas that are being affected, and have a larger frame to fight this large conglomerate, that is going to be affecting everyone's health.
Yes.
And one community fighting, we should be pooling our resources and fighting together. Because like Marty's talked about, or others have talked about, this is a bipartisan thing. This is everybody. This isn't red or blue or people enjoy hunting, people are in the city only. This is everybody. And we should be fighting together. This is the one opportunity where we can be unified and fight together and act like Americans for once.
But I agree.
Any Russell wants to comment?
I would say I agree. I think that's what I said. I think that the only issue that I brought up, I don't think that the county has standing to bring that lawsuit. If
That's why I want to combine counties.
and I don't think any of the counties have, what I'm saying is all the counties are in the same spot.
Okay.
I don't think the counties have standing. I think townships do. I think individual property owners do. If they all band together, that would be great. But I don't believe in my reading of it, once again, if someone wants to show me I'm wrong, I'm fine. Be the first to admit it. But I don't believe the county was going to have standing as it relates to this issue.
Yeah, the counties don't fund the townships. The townships are in the county. I mean, the county's is supposed to be representing the people here. The county has more resources collectively. It seems to me the counties could get together and help fund the townships and private landowners that are trying to fight this. Because you're supposed to be working on behalf of the people in the county.
I don't believe so, that you would be picking winners over losers. And there could be individuals who do support this. I mean, once again, my job is to keep the county out of, I can't even talk about the financial piece of it. I just don't believe that the budget would have that in it. But that could be something for the Natural Resources Committee to explore and go forward from there.
Well, collectively with all the counties, like they talked about, and you always are picking winners and losers when you pass. You're never representing every side, and you're always picking winners and losers. I'm not trying to take over, but I'm just thinking, it seems like there's something we can do. The county's got to come up with some kind of way to help represent its people, and if filing a lawsuit on your own behalf is frivolous, then it seems like we need to think outside the box and come up with something to force something on something.
Supervisor Turk, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. I
Okay.
wanted to make a motion to amend the resolution to change the request due date to September 14th, 2026 in both places.
I would second that.
So we have a motion to amend the resolution at the, now therefore be resolved from September 18th to September 14th.
Yep.
To change,
And after number 1 as well.
yes. Okay, change from September 18th to September 14th. And we do have a second by Supervisor Frank. We cannot debate on this or talk about this, but all those in favor signify by saying aye. On the amended resolution, all those opposed say no. All right, the motion is amended. So now we're back on our amended resolution. And we're still in the discussion mode. And so I see Supervisor Collins Johnsrud and Welty. Would like to go first.
I don't have anything.
Okay,
I'm just wondering if our council could investigate it further to just look into what are options for a lawsuit aspect of this. Are there federal statutes that may come to bear in any of this? I mean, I would like to see it in writing.
I will do whatever we're authorized to do. I have no problem doing something if it's authorized. I don't know where the authorization comes from. I don't know if that's from the Natural Resources Committee, it's from the chairman. We have no problem researching. Like I said, we've done a thorough research of state statutes and case law. I want to check the noise issue, which we brought to our attention today, which we will. As far as federal, I'll research whatever you guys want us to. I take my direction, I guess, from the chairman and from the administrator of that, or the committee. I will do so.
Supervisor Kramer?
I have one question. What is I'm gonna say this, we've changed the date to the 14th. What is a reasonable time period to give these companies? I mean, do we give them a week, 2 weeks?
I mean, generally, from a legal perspective, we go 30 days. This is not quite 30 days. You're moving it up. But like, if we had to do a deposition, or if we had to do a production documents request, from a legal standpoint, we're only doing those on 30-day notices. So that's kind of what I would call the default. There's no right or wrong answer.
Supervisors? On our amended resolutions. We'll take two more comments from that. Or go ahead.
Patterson, Beatty Drive, and Red Township. Someone earlier said that there were, I think, 17 times where such a project was stopped. And I'd like to respectfully ask this council let's take at least a cursory look at it once in that regard, or if it's true, and what in those cases, and see if that's possibly about the school. Thank you.
Johnson?
I would respectfully ask that we follow in the footsteps of our neighbors in Vernon and Crawford County. Vernon County is opposed to this. Okay, the county board has opposed it. Vernon and Crawford County also have two coalitions by landowners against this. They have two coalitions because there are two lots, a primary and a secondary. So they have two lawyers working on it, and the county is opposed. Now, if Vernon County is brave enough to be opposed, and Richland County is brave enough to be opposed, and the 9 other counties that are involved in Wisconsin are brave enough to band together and be opposed to this, wouldn't we be making some sort of statement to our legislators to get us out of this mess that we are in?
Yes. I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
You just want to comment or not?
I didn't hear what she said. I'm sorry.
I said, wouldn't it bring a message to you to get us out of the mess that we've gotten in the last 20 years? This hasn't happened overnight. This is a series of legislative mishaps that have happened to get us to this point where suddenly an electric company is coming in and taking our land by eminent domain. This didn't happen overnight. Now, instead of the federal government taking our land, we've got a private company taking our land and profiting from it.
Can I just share a couple of things that I know? Yeah.
Senator Kieski's got the floor. I want you to come to the microphone.
Okay, yeah.
So this is Senator Kieski that is speaking right now for those that are online.
So, as I said before, there's a lot of information to know, and I am not an expert, but I will tell you a couple of things that I do understand or am learning as it relates to this. But I want you to understand that I am not an expert, and so I'm giving you the best I know. Okay, so a couple of things. You're not wrong that this has been something that has been created over a length of time. Absolutely. What I understand is there is something that creates the grid that's called MISO. MISO creates a grid, and it's the Mid-Continent Independent, thank you, yes, thank you. There's all these acronyms. And it is 15 states, including Wisconsin, and one province, which is Manitoba. So it's very big and they all work together. It's interconnected, interstate. MISO is not state directed, it is federal. And so the dilemma is MISO is what agreed or approved this plan along with multiple others at the end of 2024. Now, so there's multiple plans going on. This is just one of them. And they are being built by different corporations, built businesses. This business was given the contract, so it's called MGS, but it's a joint venture between TransSource and BHE Transmission, which is backed by Berkshire Hathaway. Okay, so that and TransSource is from Ohio. They're not a Wisconsin entity, and so they got the bid to build this portion. And yes, there's a portion that is the Maribel portion that is coming through Minnesota and linking into Wisconsin at the thank you. Yes, thank you, Bell Center. So that's where this one starts. So understanding that this is a huge grid system and it is so big, it is overwhelming. I don't want to be depressing, but I want us to understand how big this is and what it all entails. It feels like it's our area and it's our one line. It is not. It is so big. Okay, so that's the piece that I want us all to understand. The other thing was, okay, so, and again, this transmission line is going down to Illinois. this transmission line, was approved to be built, this part was approved to be built in January of 2026. So that's just this year. Is that right? Oh, sorry, by MISO.
Thank you.
MISO, yes, so MISO. MISO is that big, yep, sort of regional entity that decides what is needed. And they do a bidding thing, and then they give the contracts out. And so that contract went to that organization, the MGS, at the beginning of this year. That corporation, we did not have access to information from them until like about July. And so as I tried to get information, it's been very, very hard to get. Partially because what I'm learning is they merged. And so originally the name was TransSource, and then it became MGS. And so I don't know, that was tricky. So that's a piece that I want you to know. The other thing that's really important to understand is that the legislature so this is a regulatory body, this MISO, that is regulated by the federal government. It is not state regulated. The federal government has say over that. The federal government did have an executive order last January that I'm trying to still get information. People are telling me this, I cannot confirm this yet. But an executive order that fast-tracked approval of things. So that was the Trump administration in January 2025. There's an executive order, and I can give you the number if anybody wants it, because I do have it. And there's some speculation that that's why this has gotten fast-tracked in this way. So whether or not that's accurate, I don't know, but that might be part of the dilemma. Okay, so once this group decides on where to put this line, because obviously there's all kinds of places that they're saying, but there's no formal line yet planned. They are going to be getting information from people and deciding where the line should actually go. That's what the open houses are. They are not informational presentations. They are simply to be there to hear from you where you want it, where you don't want it. They are not presentations, just so you're clear. So that's a big reason why I'm trying to give as much information as I can, because I think a lot of people are thinking they're going to go there and learn, and you're not. Yeah.
I think that our PSCs first go through, this is the second item.
Yes, so, yes.
If they went along 94 and 90, it would avoid the driftless.
Yeah.
And that's maybe what our resolution should suggest, is that they avoid the driftless by going along the transportation corridors, 94 and 90, which gets them down to corridors where they have to go. And we need to say that to them.
Yes.
Because that, they're not following that, they're keeping a straight line.
Yes. Okay, so, yes. And this is a bill that we put forward at the very end of session ending in March. But at the end of session, Senate Bill 1125, you can look it up. It is kind of trying to say, hey, we have to, whenever possible, go along corridors that already exist versus these straight lines through new versions inventory. Now, how much will that matter to them is, I don't know. There is already a statute, Wisconsin statute 1.12 paragraph 6 that already kind of asks for that. So this one was kind of trying to put a little bit more beefiness to it. But that is there already saying, hey, when you can use what already exists as far as corridors. One of the questions still haven't been able to get an answer to is, are the people that already have access to those and have those lines on those corridors, are they willing to share it? Or is there some kind of issue there where another energy company has the easement and then maybe there is not sharing? That's a question I'm trying to figure out whether or not we can. I don't know that answer, but that's a question mark. So that's a good point. The other thing I'm going to say is the PSC is the last piece of this that I want to share. That once this gets the determined line, it will go to the PSC. That is the Public Service Commission. That Public Service Commission is 3-member, large, 3 commissioners. They're moving us along, like we've heard. There is going to be this public comment. They're asking that it be in by September 7th. But supposedly there's going to have more open houses. Again, I don't know when. That's what they're saying. What that will mean, I don't know. But they're saying on their own plans that at the beginning of 2027, that they are going to be submitting their decided plan to the PSC. That PSC again is a 3-person commission. What is really important to know about that is that only one of the people on the PSC has been approved by the legislature. The other 2 have been appointed, but not approved. The PSC is a commission of 3 people that have 6-year staggered terms, okay? So whoever the governor is that is elected in November, they will be able to put 2 new PSC commissioners on there possibly. Because they are always appointed and 2 of them have not been approved. So that's important to know because you have to figure out, and I don't know, who is for regulation, who is for the environment, who is willing to maybe do that, or who wants fast track, right? So those are the pieces that I know. If anyone has any other questions, I can try to answer them. Okay, go. The PSC covers what? The PSC is only Wisconsin. It is our regulatory group for Wisconsin to approve these kinds of projects. Utility projects is what I understand. So that's right. They don't have it yet. And so until they have it, we don't even really know what to say. You know, and so that's why I haven't done anything there, but that is probably where I will have a say or try to have a say on behalf of what everybody is saying. Like this, you know, but right now it's tricky because it's not a plan yet.
So
Yeah.
just one more question here. We gotta continue on, so.
Can I take one more?
Sure.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much for being here. I just wanted to, for one important piece of information, that this project is not approved. They won the bid to submit this line, but the project is not approved. The PSC is the one that approved.
When I say approved, what I mean is MISO said yes, that the plan is approved to create a line, and that's how they gave the bid.
They won the bid.
Yes.
But nothing is approved. That's like a statewide.
Yeah, I'm using the wrong term.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, okay.
I think we're on the same page.
Okay, gotcha, yeah.
So we do have an amended resolution on agenda item number 11, which is to request additional information on the proposed 765 kilovolt transmission line. Supervisors, this is your last, you have any more comments? Supervisor McGuire.
Before we vote on that, can you read that word for word, the resolution?
Clerk, would you be able to read the amended resolution with the September?
Sure. You want me to read the whole thing?
And also, I want supervisors to understand that there is there is a
I
typo.
didn't realize it was that long. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I appreciate it.
Disregard my last transmission.
Supervisors, there is a typo on the 9th whereas, where it says February of 2026. It should be February of 2027. That is considered a typo. However, the amended resolution now therefore be resolved. The 2 Septembers are should say September 14th instead of September 18th. Our supervisors, are you clear with that resolution? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Agenda item number 11 is now finished. I think that we should take at least an 8-minute break right now. If the supervisors go to the bathroom, get something to drink. Public, thank you for coming here. You are free to stay if you would like to.
6:45, resolution approving a comprehensive facility improvement plan. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the remodeling of the facilities will begin in 2027, continue over a period of 6 years. Be it further resolved that this resolution is effective upon passage and publication. This comes to us from the executive and finance team.
Supervisors, you've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? There's a motion by Supervisor Meyer, seconded by Supervisor McKee. Discussion, and we'll turn the floor over to Administrator Clements.
So this is a process that started back in January of this year with the Ad hoc County Facilities Committee. That committee got together because there's been a lot of deferred maintenance on our buildings. And we wanted to have the opportunity for department heads to come forth to talk about what their challenges are. Many of the things that they talked about did revolve around safety and security in the buildings. The three main things that we asked them to talk about was their space needs, their security needs, and the structure needs. So this plan was to make improvements to the courtroom floor, the courthouse offices, remodeling at the community services building, HVAC for the community services building, highway shop, and Simons, generator replacements and upgrades at the highway shop, including fire suppression system, a crane replacement, parking lot replacement, and additional garage doors. We're also looking to finish the courthouse roof replacement and make upgrades to the heating and cooling system of the courthouse. So you'll see in the resolution, there is a long list of topics that need to be addressed. Executive and finance then began reviewing the plan in June. One of the things that happened after the plan was presented to them is that Venture came forth with their engineers to give us updated dollar amounts that the HVAC system for Simons would be and for the community services building. So Simons has been a major point of discussion then through the executive and finance. We have already some money set aside for the Simons HVAC. Back last year, when we did our short-term borrowing, we set aside $250,000 for the HVAC repair there. And then through the grant, the campus redevelopment grant, we also put an additional $475,000. So for the remaining HVAC needs for Simons, we need about $1.2 million. That is built into the plan. Other things that are built into the plan are additional funds from the tower project. We did not use all the funds from the radio tower project. And then we also built in revenue from the interest that we will earn. Getting back to Simons and the HVAC, there were two main points of discussion related to that. One question that came up was how long will we have Simons? And is this an investment we want to make if we're not going to have Simons long term? The second question that came up surrounded the city's contribution to the repairs, and should they be borrowing funds for half of the cost. One thing that I want to point out with that is that when we borrow or when the city borrows, we then put that outside of our levy limit and those costs go to our taxpayers. So when the county would levy the total amount, if the county levied the total amount, that dollar amount is then being distributed amongst all county taxpayers. If we do half and the city does half, our city taxpayers will be taxed more than the taxpayers that live outside of the county. So just one thing I want to say is, you know, when we talk about city stepping up and taking on some of this, we're really asking our taxpayers in the city to pay more taxes on the Simons repair than on the other ones if the city bonds and we also bonds. So at the last meeting, there was a amendment made that talked about, and I put this in the resolution, and I apologize if it was put in there wrong, that the Simons HVAC project can be completed only if the city of Richland Center commits to assisting with 50% of this funding. So as the resolution stands right now, and the way I took the meeting, and again, I apologize if that was incorrect intention of the committee, but the county can only update the age if the city contributes to half of the cost. So that is where we are at with this resolution. I do have the items listed that we have proposed to be repaired over the next 6 years. And again, the Simon's HVAC is the one thing that kind of has a question mark behind that.
We do have a motion and a second on the floor. We did hear from Minister Clements on this resolution. Is there any discussion from supervisors?
Did they say what the mill rate, how it would affect the mill rate?
It'd be less than the 10 cents on the mill rate for the complete project.
And 1 cent he said would be going to science. When he was speaking tonight, is that what he was talking about?
That's what he was speaking towards, yes.
Do we have to amend this then to include, to make that change? 50% of the funding?
That is currently in the resolution. If you look at the last whereas, so it's on the bottom of the first page, it is in this resolution, whereas the Executive and Finance Committee has determined that the Simon's HVAC project can be completed only if the city Richland Center commits to assisting with 50% of the.
Okay, but didn't you just say the city residents would have to pay more if that was the case?
Yes.
If you think about that, if the city did have to go to borrowing or come out of their general fund, if they did find that, city residents would be, because we're borrowing, so they would be taxed on their property from the county to pay for this and also from the city.
Am I right in thinking that the Simon's parts costed 800,000?
So the Simons, we would need about 1.27 million to finish that. Because it's a $2 million project is what the engineers have told us. It'll be about 2 million to repair Simon's HVAC. And we have around.
And the city would be responsible for half.
That's what the resolution is proposing. I am wanting to just make sure we point out that if we have the city cover half and we cover half, our city taxpayers are going to be paying more for that than the taxpayers outside of the city.
Roger Thompson?
The things I want to bring up about this, one, there are some questions with the resolution, with this off-road. With the total cost of Simon's, I'm just looking at what is the life expectancy of this, of Simon's from here on out? Do we have 5 years left of it, 10 years left of it? With that, I guess just different discussions from Simon's over the last few months. I know they had talked about all the windows needing repairs. The walls have mold in them. They need to be redone. I know they wanted to refigure the layout of Simon's. And I've also heard that it's got a cracked foundation. So I don't think this is going to stop at just $2 million for an HVAC system. It doesn't take long to keep gaining millions and millions of dollars of putting into this. And then at that point, are we going to be up to 20 million in this thing? And burdening the taxpayers with this when it is a non-mandated function of our county? And with this, what's the remaining life of that pool after this? So if we put in over the next 8 years, all this money into it, and then what? We're done with the pool at that point. That's, to me, it's just a lot of wasted money at that point. And I just don't feel it's a proper use of our county's tax dollars for people to put into this if it's going to, in 10 years, be the life expectancy is going to be done with this pool. The other thing I look at with the resolution, looking at it, we, as a executive finance committee, put this through with the amendment to the resolution to pause on the HVAC for Simon's, passing everything else, waiting on that because of the commitment from the city is what we were waiting on with that. Otherwise, it was going to be striked off the resolution. And when that was passed, it was not passed by everyone. There were 2 nays.
You remember who the 2 nays were?
Louis and Barry.
Any supervisors want to comment on what Supervisor Thompson had to say? Supervisor Welty?
At the executive and finance meeting, as I recall, our conversation, and I did go back and replay the video, the discussion was not about 50% contribution from the city. It was about the city's overall commitment to Simons. And in the administrator's report that we received, I believe it talks about the city's intention to, over time, withdraw from support of Simons, which would, depending on what that time frame is, leave the county responsible for not only the capital investments, but also the operating expenses. So I have some concerns from that standpoint for a non-mandated service, not knowing what the long-term demand will be of taxpayer dollars. And I too share the concern about hearing that there are additional infrastructure problems or wear and tear at Simons. And if we're bonding over a period of time, there's no assurance that the building will even be functional by the time the bond is paid off.
Supervisor Frank, you had your hand up, or your yield to Supervisor Miller?
Okay, well, I was just going to add, I'm on that Simons committee, but I can tell you that it's a good maintenance done to Simons, just like the rest of the campus. It's been neglected and it serves a big purpose. And I would hate to see it be community. We try to bring people into this community and we need things for them to do, the swimming, the schools, everybody's involved around Simons. And a lot of little old ladies, they go out there every day or 2 or 3 times a week. That would just be part of it. And some community members, most of them, of course, are paying their taxes and their years, and they're not enjoying this. So that I'm just saying this, I'm kind of sensitive to this because this isn't really because of us. And this isn't because of the county, it's just because it has been neglected. Like many of our buildings. Yeah, and we gotta start putting money back into these buildings because we can't build a new jail and do all this stuff. We don't have the money. So we're gonna have to start doing with what we got.
Supervisor Perry?
At the executive and finance committee meeting, we discussed at some length how our county has deferred maintenance on its buildings and facilities for so damn many years that they're all falling apart. Why do we not want to keep the Simon Center going, improve what we can? They have a great foundation that also provides money. And I just don't see, why do we keep deferring maintenance on our facilities? Doesn't make any sense.
Supervisor Frank?
Thank you. So, I was the one that brought this amendment to the executive and finance. It was, make sure that the city and the county were paying their shares. At this point, I am very satisfied with the communication that's gone on between the city and the county, between the administrators. The decisions that they're looking at and what they're moving forward on. At this point, I would like to amend this resolution to, hang on, let me read this quick. I'm going to make a recommendation or a amendment to remove the phrase, whereas the Executive and Finance Committee has determined the Simons HVAC project can be completed only if the City of Richland Center commits to assisting with the 50% of its funding. My amendment is to strike that.
So we have a motion on the floor to amend our resolution to strike the, whereas the Executive and Finance Committee has determined that the Simons HVAC project can be completed only if the City of Richland Center commits to assisting with 50% of its funding. And that is to strike that. Is there a second? Seconded by Supervisor Cooey. Any just, all those in favor on the amended motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
And a show of hands for the nays.
The ayes have it, over nays, the amendment passes. So we do have an amended resolution at this time. That is striking the, that whereas of the city assisting with 50% of its funding. So now, open the floor up to discussion on the current resolution as amended. Supervisor Cooey.
You know, the reason why I was against that amendment is because of what Simon's does for the community. I think John Simon, when he put that in there, that was his intention, was for the community to have something more than what it had at the time. Now, that was a long time ago, and the cost was probably much different. But once again, this is another prime example of what Supervisor Perry said of how we've considerably kicked the can down the road on every building in Richland County that the county's involved in, and not maintained them, not repaired them. I understand that it's a lot of money and you may be concerned about what the outcome is, but this is our opportunity to provide this. I think it's the right thing to do for our area. I think especially with the population that we have, this is a great avenue for people to get out and do something and maybe a little less harmful to their bodies. We have another pool in this area, but it's open for about 3 months a year or 4 months a year at best. To me, I think we'd be foolish not to take care of what we have. The other thing I would say is, you know, we didn't have a problem approving an ambulance tax for everybody in the county, so to me, this is along the same line as that.
Supervisor Welty.
I want to be clear, I'm not opposed to the services that Simon's offers. I think it's a wonderful luxury that we have here in our community. I'm concerned about the lack of transparency around what it will cost our taxpayers to continue to operate it. If we are going to continue to have Simon's, we want it to be a safe facility. It needs to be a well-maintained facility, and it needs to be in good repair. I think that the amount of, that's included in this plan is inadequate as far as what Simon's actually needs based on all the comments that we've received thus far with the disrepair that it has. I think this isn't transparent, and that's where my concern lies.
I would
Supervisor
agree
Collins
with
Johnson?
that. I would agree with that. That's my reason for objecting. I also feel like there needs to be some numbers up there. How much is it gonna cost? I mean, what's it gonna cost the taxpayer? It'd be nice to have that transparency.
All of that was in the executive and finance packet from a couple of weeks ago. I can certainly get that brought forth, but that was shared with executive and finance.
Supervisor Thompson.
I would just like to say, yes, I do agree that it is a very nice luxury for the county. But again, my concern is it's not gonna stop here. It's gonna keep going and going and going. And it's gonna amount to a substantial amount for the repairs for Simon's. And that's, again, having all of those numbers out there to see if it's as a whole before we start doing a little bit here and then more and more. And by the end, it's a substantial amount that is being taxed to the county.
We do have some issues here, both, okay, Mr. Chair, Supervisor Chair. Sorry.
Right now, we have Simon. It's operating, it's running. It has some major needs, particularly in this HVAC system. The building was never built with a proper dehumidification system for the pool area. This will do that. that will ensure a longer term sustainability for the facility. If we ever have hope of anyone else coming in and operating this, we need to invest in it. Otherwise, we just as well have them tear it down while we got the bulldozers out there bulldozing the campus buildings. And in effect, if that's what you really believe, then look the taxpayers in the eye and say, I'm not voting for this because I want to shut it down. Because if you want to keep it open, you got to invest in it. You can't nickel and dime it. You can't penny any around. It's going to be a problem and it's going to keep on going unless you decide to invest what needs to be done. And for this particular case, yeah, $1 million, that's a lot of money. That's what it takes.
I think supervisors need to understand why we're investing, why the proposal is to invest money into Simons. I don't know if Mr. Clemens wants to comment or give the floor over to Mr. Hardy on humidification, the wet floors, the risk that we do have right now, why this is needed. Maybe some supervisors probably didn't understand why, because it was discussed at executive finance, but not at county board.
Yeah. One thing too, I want to bring up that I know there is concern, and I respect that, of the ongoing costs, and obviously Simons, as well as a lot of facilities in the city and county, have been taken care of. It can't be kicked down the road. With these ongoing costs, yes, we have determined that there's about $1 million or so that we expect in addition. But we can't do that until HVAC is done. And this $1 million, we'll talk with the foundation. The foundation actually passed or approved for us to donate $20,000 for us to go to get engineers to have a study done, which would have all of this, everything that we need to have done, the new windows, the new doors, everything inside without doing any additions, anything like that, updating the building. They agreed to donate that $20,000 for us to do that and to come up with plans so that we'll have plans to go out to the community and say, we've got to raise X amount of dollars because the engineer's going to give us a cost estimate on each item that needs to be replaced there or repaired there. We expect that to be around $1 million. We expect that to be 100% fundraised and donations, grants. We're not going to be asking for any of that money from taxpayers. So the only thing we're asking for is this HVAC. So hopefully that addresses that question. And that you can record me saying that, because if a year from now, something happens, then you can take that back on me, obviously. So the other thing that when we did change job descriptions, as you recall, earlier this year, my position went from being a director to director of development. Our assistant director went to being a director of operations. One of the things that I did when I built that director of development job description was that this position is required to bring in at least $150,000 in additional fundraising every year. That's to go towards operating costs. Our operating cost is about $100,000, a little less than $100,000 that taxpayers subsidize this by. The reason I put that in was that the director of development is responsible for raising up to or at least $150,000. So if I don't raise that money additional to what the foundation or anyone else raises to go towards those operation costs, then Trish will be having to talk with me and I might be looking for another job. I want that to happen. So that's why I put that in there. That's a big position in the director of development. So to hopefully calm those fears of those ongoing costs, really all we're looking for is HVAC here. The reason for the HVAC, like we talked to the executive finance, again, like Dick Turk was saying, the pool was built never with a dehumidification system. That's what caused the problem with the humidity in the pool. So we're getting the floor is flooding out in actually in the lobby, not in the pool area, out in the lobby area, out in the hallway area. This year it got so bad a couple of times with the humidity there. We did have a few people slip on the floors, and we had some incident reports there. Our fear is that if this isn't addressed, it's going to continue to get worse, and you're going to have a liability issue, and then you're dealing with lawsuits, and that's money that I as a taxpayer don't like to pay. It's something that we can't avoid. So that's why we need this HVAC there. And again, this was ventured into an engineering study, and we'll have additional studies done that the foundation again has approved for $20,000 to get this study done. But that's on hold right now because we're not going to do that unless the HVAC's done. The engineers have told us that there's no sense making any improvements to the building until we do the HVAC. So it's just going to continue to get worse. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer as well.
I think one other thing that I want to add here is that Mike's goal is to every year decrease the amount of levy from the city and the county that's needed. And thus far, he's been successful because it'll be his third year, the third budget, and his amount that he asked for has been increasing. So his goal is to have signings, even though it may still be under the county, who knows what they'll look like in the future, but to not need tax to decrease that.
Even will be that, it's bad as well. It's bad. If you don't see that number starting to go down the next year and the year after that, you can just get it.
You've heard comments from both sides, supervisors. Any other additional comments, concerns, Mr. McGuire, Supervisor McGuire?
What's the long-term, plan here for these upgrades? What are you hoping it lasts 50, 100 years? I mean, we already got 100-year-old building. I'm concerned about one item on it, which I think is going to be very expensive, and that is upgrading our air handlers from pneumatic. I assume they're pneumatic now.
Correct.
Okay, into electric.
Correct.
Okay, to bring in enough electricity to convert all of our air handlers to electric from pneumatic. It's very expensive in a 100-year-old building. So I'm just wondering, I don't see itemized numbers here. I don't want to be negative about it, but that's something that I know a little bit about the heating game, and it's just a major problem.
And it is, and what's happening is we're running out of the ability to find parts. So the system is so old that we currently have that we are struggling to find parts. So we are in a position that we are going to need to upgrade because our system can't be fixed. We're going to get to the point where the system we have cannot be fixed.
So we were talking about Simon's HVAC system. Supervisor McGuire is talking about our courthouse. Yes. So that's totally two separate things now. Okay, so.
I'm just kind of confused. All this is all on one resolution. It's a lot. I mean, is it just to look at it? I mean, obviously it's for ad hoc committee.
So what we did when the county facilities committee met, they had each of the departments come in. Each of them gave a list of kind of their wants and needs, because some things have been pulled out, some things have been taken care of already within the budget. Some other things that we have looked at is can some of these things be taken care of in the future within their own budgets? We then took a look at, okay, this is a large list of things. Are we better off doing short-term borrowing every year? So like we do the short-term borrowing and do a little bit every year. In the end, the committee decided our best option was to take 2 different times to bond the money and borrow the money and then start working on the project. So when you look at some of this stuff, like the generator for the courthouse and the community services building, it might make sense to replace both at the same time. If we're gonna have somebody come to our area to replace one generator, there might be some cost savings to do both at the same time. When you look at all of the work that needs to be done in the courtroom building, there might be some advantages to doing them at the same time to save some costs. Same with the information out at highway. And so this is what the committee had recommended. So what we would be looking to do, and this is all part of the process that'll come before this board, is starting in September, we will start the process to bond 3.5 million for the first part of this. And then we would start to come to the committee and say, okay, these are the projects that we're looking to do. We will not look to bond the remaining part of the money until these projects are done or until we run out of money. And when we get to doing the second bonding, if we don't need the full 3.5 million, we would then go and say, okay, we only need an additional 2.5 to finish these projects. So that's how we're looking at it that way. Yes, this is a big undertaking, but it's looking at it in the whole picture of what are the things that we need to do and how can we go about getting these projects done.
If this resolution was passed tonight, does this mean that we're automatically getting $8 million assessed on the taxpayers?
No, so we have working with Carol, who does our bonding. In September, there will be resolutions that will be brought forth that will authorize us to start the process to borrow the money. And then the money would not be bonded for until the end of October.
So this resolution is giving the authority then for the county to go ahead and to explore what bonding would look like. So this is not borrowing $8 million right now, but it's to explore looking into that before we bond. Supervisor Perry.
It should be pointed out that although this resolution looks pretty simple, it involved hours and hours of meetings and getting figures together and making estimates and putting this all together, and it does, I'll admit, it looks a little simple now, but it wasn't.
And, you know, I guess two big things that I would be asking for, you know, once we get to the finish line, as far as having the money, I would be asking the full county board to give me a committee to report to. So do I report to Public Works? Do I report to Executive and Finance? Who do I report to the progress that we're making? But also to have that committee be the one for me to go and say, okay, these are the projects we're looking to start now. Do I have your permission to start it? I don't want access to 3.5 million and I go, well, that has no intentions here. I want a committee to be guiding me through these processes.
When we go to bonding, and let's say the county did choose to go to that 8 million for bonding, all right? The way I understand it is that we could bond for 1 million one year. And then next year, do another 3 million, so it's not all at one big chunk at a time. And then possibly down the road, we wouldn't maybe need to borrow anymore, and we could stay at 6 million per se. We're just looking for the authority up to 8 million. So that's what this is. And we control that as a county board of what we borrow. We're just asking, this is our needs that we have for our buildings. This is what it would take to upkeep that. Do we want to go through with doing this? Supervisor Thompson.
Another concern I have too with this, and it was up to $8 million. Again, if we do the first section in a few years and then in 3 years, we have to go back and get new estimates on these, and it's gonna be more.
Very true.
A lot more than $8 million.
That's what we need to discuss and talk about. That's at the time that we bond, and after we did go to bonding, that's when we want to go to make these updates. That's where the board then decides, do we do all or some or partial? That's up to us though. But you are correct in that there is inflation. So we do have an amended resolution on the floor. Are we ready to go for a vote? Call for a vote? All right. So all those in favor, so clerk, would you be able to read the resolution as amended?
Resolution 2645, approving a comprehensive facility improvement plan. Whereas for many years, Richland County has deferred maintenance on county facilities. And whereas there are improvements that are needed throughout all of the facilities, and whereas an ad hoc facilities committee was created to review the needs of Richland County government. And whereas a project list was created with estimates to guide future facility improvements and to move away from deferred maintenance on our facilities as listed. And whereas the County Facilities Committee has shared the project list with the executive and finance for their approval. And whereas executive and finance has reviewed the resolution and is sending this to the full county board for their considerations. And whereas the financial impact will not exceed $8 million in bonding. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the comprehensive facility plan improvement plan be approved. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that remodeling of the facilities will begin in 2027 and continue over a period of 6 years. Be it further resolved, this resolution is effective on passage and vote.
You've heard the amended resolution. Call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. The resolution is adopted. Moving on to agenda item number 13, a resolution to transfer funds from Fund 370 to Fund 360 for the Simons Natatorium.
Resolution 2646, approving the transfer of funds from Fund 370 to Fund 360 for Simon's Sanatorium. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is granted to transfer $8,661.68 from Fund 370 to Fund 360. Be it further resolved, this resolution shall be effective immediately on passage and publication.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Supervisor McKee moves to approve this resolution, seconded by Supervisor Cooey. Any discussion?
Have one question.
Supervisor Schmidt?
Who do we supply for all the areas around kids to, I mean, I can't think of anything more important than teaching kids to swim. I mean, well, I can think of a lot. I did say that. It's very important. It's very important that these kids, I know so many people that can't swim. So is it just Richland or is it Ithaca? I mean, is it everybody?
So you're talking about the free swim?
Yeah, well, I know that, do we offer this to all the school
Yes.
districts, to the other
Well,
school districts?
Yeah, so Simons is the only facility in the county that offers swim lessons to kids. We do have, for example, Ithaca does come summer, teaches summer swim lessons. The free swim lessons that we got this year were held for Richland School District and St. Mary's kids. We're hoping to expand that because we didn't get enough money in donations to expand that. So we're hoping to expand it to other school districts. We were able to get free transportation to Richland School District because they're close enough. We're hoping to be able to get Ithaca and other school districts to be able to do that as well. So yeah, we're working on getting that for all school kids in the county.
My partner, Sherry.
Awesome. Something.
Any other questions, concerns for this resolution number 26-39? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Move on to agenda item number 14, a resolution approving private pay rate increases for SNF, which is a skilled nursing facility, and CBRF, which is a community-based residential facility.
Resolution 2647, approving updated private pay rates for Pine Valley Community Village Skilled Nursing Facility and community-based residential facility. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the following private pay rates for Pine Valley Community Village are hereby approved. The skilled nursing facility private pay at the current rate, $350 a day. The approved new rate would be $360 per day. Respite care is currently $190 per day, it would be $200 per day. For the community-based residential facility, the basic level of care is paid at $4,876. The new rate would be $5,022. Enhanced is currently $5,376. The new rate would be $5,537. Advanced rate is currently $5,976, which would increase to $6,155. For respite care service, the current rate is $190. This would move to $200 a day. Be it further resolved that the approved rate shall become effective January 1, 2027, and shall apply to all new admissions and existing private pay residents in accordance with applicable admission agreements and required notice provisions. Be it therefore resolved that the administrator of Pine Valley Community Village is authorized to implement these rates, update admission agreements and billing practices as necessary, and take all actions required to carry out this resolution. This came to us from the county board members on the Community and Health Services Standing Board.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Perry, seconded by Supervisor Williamson. We have a background, Brittany?
Every year we look at, wonderful. This is our yearly increase. We look at, every year about increasing our rates to stay competitive, but also remain, stable in the market. So that's essentially what those are. It's about a 3% increase on the CDRF and about a $10 a day or 2.86% increase on the SNF side, and then another 5% increase on respite care.
Any further discussions? Is there any supervisor that wishes to talk? Express an opinion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 15, a resolution authorizing community and health services to apply for and accept the 2027 5310 operating grant.
Resolution 2649, approving the ADRC within the development, or within the Department of Health and Human Services to apply for and accept 2027 Section 5310 capital grant. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the Aging and Disability Resource Center of the Department of Health and Human Services to apply for and accept the 2027 Section 5310 capital grant from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation for an accessible vehicle. And be it further resolved that the grant requires a 20% minimum county match, which will be funded through the Transportation Trust Fund 180. And be it further resolved that approval is hereby granted for the vehicle to be used in accordance with the terms of the grant. The Director of Health and Human Services Department, Stephanie Ronenfeld, is authorized to sign on behalf of the county any documents necessary to carry out this resolution. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately on passage and publication that came to us from the county board members of the Community and Health Services Standing Committee.
For the resolution from the clerk, what is your pleasure? Need a motion on the floor first. You want to make that motion, Supervisor McElvin? Motion by Supervisor McElvin, seconded by Supervisor Turk. Discussion, Supervisor?
I may have misheard you. Did you say 20% minimum county match or 50%?
22.
That's 50. No, yeah.
It's like the purchase resolution. This is the capital grant one. Yep, so this is actually the next one, I'm sorry.
Okay, so that resolution. Would we be out of line right now, Corporation Council, if we just did 16? Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
All right, so do we need to rescind that motion?
No, you don't need to rescind the motion, you just read the correct one.
Okay. All right, so so that motion is now void because the resolution was read wrong. So we're still on agenda item number 15 right now, a resolution authorizing Community and Health Services to apply for and accept the 2027 5310 operating grant.
All right, yes, for the operating grant. Second time's charm. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the Aging Disability Resource Center of the Department of Health and Human Services to apply for and accept the 2027 Section 5310 operating grant from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation up to the amount of $36,484. And be it further resolved that the grant requires a 50% minimum county match, which can be either cash and or in-kind funding, which would be accomplished by Section 8521, non-federal transportation funds, program revenues, indirect costs supported by Health and Human Services Fund number 560. And be it further resolved that approval is hereby granted for the grant funds to be spent in accordance with the terms of the grant. And the Director of Health and Human Services Department, Ms. Stephanie Ronenfeld, is authorized to sign on behalf of the county any documents necessary to carry out this resolution. Be it further resolved, this resolution shall be effective immediately on passage and publication from the county board members of the Community and Health Services Standing.
For the resolution, what's your pleasures? Motion by Supervisor Collins Johnsrud to approve this, seconded by Supervisor Cooey, has his hand up. Any discussion? We do apply for this every year. Stephanie, do you want to talk? Give a quick brief update?
Next week, yes, this is a grant that we apply for every year, we apply for every year. It offsets our operating costs, in our transportation program, our bus program, that does a lot of wheelchair transport. It's a federal grant, as it's stated, there is a match to this, but we don't use tax levy, we use 8521 revenue, to offset that.
Any further discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Agenda item number 16, a resolution authorizing Community Health Services to apply for and accept the 2027 5310 capital purchase grant. Clerk Harrison?
All right, let's try this again. 2649, approving the capital grant. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted to the Aging and Disability Resource Center of the Department of Health and Human Services to apply for and accept a 2027 Section 5310 capital grant from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation for an accessible vehicle. Be it further resolved that the grant requires a 20% minimum county match, which will be funded through the Transportation Trust Fund 180. And be it further resolved that approval is hereby granted for the vehicle to be used in accordance with the terms of the grant. And the Director of Health and Human Services, Ms. Stephanie Ronfeld, is hereby authorized to sign on behalf of the county any documents necessary to carry out this resolution. To be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately on passage and publication from the county board members of the Community and Health Services.
For the resolution, what's your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Perry, seconded by Supervisor Kramer. Discussion. Background?
So, as it stated, it's a capital grant that we're requesting to purchase a new vehicle that will be used. What happens is, some of our vehicles, if they reach 5 years, if they get 5 years old or reach 100,000 miles, it's the useful life is done and they would like those replaced. So we have two vehicles. One of them is at the 100,000 miles. And so, we want to request funding to purchase a new vehicle. The match in this again, is not going to be coming out of tax levy, it'll come out of our trust fund. That is money for previous years and unused grant dollars.
Supervisors, any comments, questions, concerns? Call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Agenda item number 17 is an ordinance relating to parcel 006-0113-3000.
Amendment number 656 to the Richland County Code of Ordinance, Chapter 119, zoning relating to parcel 0113-3000. This ordinance shall be effective upon passage and publication, and this comes from the Natural Resources Standing Committee.
For the ordinance, what is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Cooey, seconded by Supervisor Turk.
I just want to mention to the two new supervisors that the reason we don't use names, we use the tax parcel numbers is because there's a law out there that says we gotta black out in judicial or people like judges and those. So if we just block out theirs, people are gonna know that's who the property owner is, so it was advised to us that we just use tax parcel numbers. Basically, this is a 40-acre parcel in Forest Township. They're splitting off the residents, and keeping the rest as forest land. So anything under 48, anything under 35 acres, 5 acres to 35 acres is ag residential. And there's 34.84 acres that could be ag residential, and the other, since under 5 acres, 2.5 acres is residential. Oh, the wrong one. I'm doing the wrong one. Okay, this one is, this was a parcel that for some reason was zoned at forest. It is a small parcel. It's 2.8 acres and 2.08 acres. And, we're putting it in the correct zoning district, which is residential. Thank you.
Questions? Did the town, of Buena Vista in their minutes, did they just give an okay in the minutes?
Yeah, we have, before it goes to our,
Right.
the Natural Resources Committee,
That's how I thought.
we have approval. If we don't have approval from the township, it doesn't go through the committee.
Any other questions, comments, concerns on our ordinance? Call for a vote. All those in favor of the ordinance, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. I'm going to agenda item number 18, which is another zoning ordinance relating to the parcel 012-1823-1000.
Ordinance 2624, Amendment 657, Richland County Code of Ordinance, Chapter 119, zoning relating to parcel 0121-823-1000.
This ordinance shall be effective on passage and publication.
For the ordinance resolution, or ordinance, reading, what is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Williamson, seconded by Supervisor McKee. Background?
Like I said, it's a 40-acre parcel. So anything that's in, it's being split, so there's gonna be less than 35 acres on one parcel, part of it, that'll be zoned ag residential, and the other house and 2 acres with it, 2.5 acres will be, needs to be zoned ag or residential.
Comments, questions, concern from supervisors? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kathy, for staying. So we're moving on to agenda item number 19, which is reports. Administrator?
I just want to say my report is in the folder, and I want to just take a moment to thank Barb Scott. Her 3-month commitment to the ambulance ended up being 14 months, so we do really appreciate all the work that she did as she, during her time as the interim service director. So I just want to say thank you to her.
Thank you, Administrator. County Board Chair update. I guess I'd like to inform County Board of Supervisors about our EMS that we do have right now. We did have a resolution passed to help form a district. I think things are progressing now pretty fast at the township level with the town association. And in my humble opinion, is that there are some people from outside of the Richland EMS service area townships that need Richland County EMS are directing how EMS is going to be provided to those townships and municipalities that need Richland County EMS. And without them really having a say in that. So this is progressing pretty fast and we're keeping an eye on this, but I don't know where it's gonna go. So we are currently have formed our ad hoc committee and we're moving forward. They met once already. I was not able to attend that one. I guess going on from what I said, Supervisor Frank, would you be willing to talk, I guess?
Yeah.
The information that you know?
Yeah, we will meet again, I'm sorry. We'll meet again tomorrow, at 2:00. And going over tomorrow what we're going to be bringing up to the 2 meetings with the township. So we're scheduling 2 meetings with the townships, one on the 25th and the other one on the 3rd. September 3rd. Hope that the American Legion, so tomorrow's meeting will be
County Board.
Oh, the county board, yeah, those are the county board events, and the public hearings will be in Legion. Thank you. So tomorrow's agenda is pretty much going over what we want that structure to look like. We're creating an FAQ questions so that we have answers for people that we can get up on the website, and we're also discussing how we can get this publicized. I will say I talked to a couple of the township chairs and members. They have already started the process. I think they're probably maybe a little ahead of where we think we are. But so we're going to try and dovetail with them and work together with them and support them and get that process going in hopes to take our parallel paths, join them together in their efforts. So, so far so good, but we have to see where we're going.
So this EMS thing is not over and it's gonna be pretty, interesting coming down. The towns are moving at a fast pace than what I think, in my opinion, needed to be done. It did not need to go this fast, but it is, and it's spiraling like that because they're upset over our tax levy. And those townships that, are being taxed for Richland EMS that do not receive Richland EMS services are the driving force of those municipalities that need Richland County EMS on how they are gonna be able to be provided. And those townships, I would encourage those that need Richland EMS to stand up and voice their opinion on what they want for EMS service, not having those outside townships tell them what they're gonna have. Legislative update, you've heard Sarah was here. I don't see anybody else here from our state legislature. Agenda item number 20 is correspondence. We do have a bunch of correspondences in here, lots of resolutions from multiple municipalities, townships on the 765 line and opposing the EMS levy from other townships too. Is that correct, Clerk Harrison?
That's correct.
So those are all in your packet. They're all able to be viewed online too. For anybody who wants to see them. Does anybody have any comments on those resolutions, or not resolutions, but correspondences? Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 21, which is future agenda items. Supervisor Perry.
Where I want to. Please excuse my agenda intrusion, but there seems to be no other time on the agenda to do this. In fact, that's the point I'd like to make. In other boards that I've served on, there's been a time for comment or suggestion by board members around the table for comments, if you will. Not a time for action items, only brief thought or idea or mention. I'd like to suggest that if necessary, a rule change be made to include board member comments, probably near the end of the agenda, around the time of future agenda items.
Anybody else on any future agenda items? If you think of something later, you can always contact me or let Administrator Clements know or Clerk Harrison. Next on our agenda is agenda item number 22. Is that? Motion by Supervisor Kramer, seconded by Supervisor McElwain. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Thank you all for coming, spending your time here.